Season on the line, 4th and 11. Butka looking downfield, throwing, incomplete, broken up at the 10-yard line. And Old Bridge is headed to the NJSIAA Central Jersey Group 5 Championship game.
There's one in the flat. Good catch that time by Ransom. Ransom with a lot of room. And a good block by Delonzo down the field. And Ransom is gone. 57 yards to the house. 2-2.
Swung on and miss. Strike 3. St. James Smithtown has done it. They are the 2025 New York State Little League Baseball Tournament champions.
Drops back, throws all the way to his right. Has a man down the field, and he's got him! First play of the drive, touchdown, New York Green Wave! St. Aoki's season on the line. Goal to go from the 2. Kyles looks to run with it, pitches it to Sip, he grabs it, he's in for the touchdown!
The final 25, and they're neck and neck. Kane looks like they have just a dash of a lead. Salisbury taking first. What a race!
From Porvoo Central Field in Porvoo, Finland, the PDF Sports Network is proud to welcome you into coverage of the Vaahteraliiga, the top American football league in Finland. And our PDF Game of the Week for Week 11, the number 1 seed in the Maple League, is on the line as the Kuopio Steelers take on the Porvoo Butchers. Good evening, everybody. My name is Joe Foreman alongside David Pizzuto. And Dave, there is plenty on the line here in Porvoo tonight. Last time these two sides collided, it made for a Game of the Year candidate. Both teams still have control over their own destiny in the race for the number 1 seed. 2 more playoff teams are anticipating this result in hopes of hosting a home game. Lots to look forward to tonight.
Absolutely, Joe, and that's just it. You know, you notice it on your screen, the standings, and both teams, just like you said, control their own destiny. A win by the Steelers, and they have finished their season with a record of 8-2, and no one can catch them in the win-loss column. They are the easy number 1 seed. A win by the Butchers, and they have a chance with a win next week, a game that they'll be heavily favored in, to win the league with the win-loss record, and at the very least, own the head-to-head tiebreaker with the Steelers. Puts into perspective just how big that come-from-behind win by Porvoo over the Steelers was when we first saw these two teams. It makes this game one essentially to determine the regular season championship. Measured against big games this week for St. Aoki and Helsinki, followed by a head-to-head between those two teams next week. The top 4 teams today could look much different over the course of the next week and next over the course of this week and next. With the first-round home game on the line, there is indeed a lot at stake.
And Dave, for the second straight season, the Steelers got off to a less-than-ideal start, and a big part of that was the last-second loss to the Butchers earlier this year. However, they have now won 6 straight, entering tonight's game, the longest winning streak in the league. And last week's win over the St. Aoki Crocodiles was arguably the most dominant effort for any team against a playoff-caliber opponent all season long. What do you believe was the catalyst for this win streak, and what allowed the Steelers to win in such dominant fashion on the road in St. Aoki last week?
Well, Joe, I think we can both agree that last week's game was a strange game for us. In how it played out and the unexpected result, at least in terms of score. But what wasn't strange was the performance of Kuopio's defense. They were really good last week, namely in shutting down the Crocodiles' run game. And they have proven consistently that if they can force you into obvious passing plays, they can put enough pressure on the quarterback and make the necessary tackles in the open field to keep teams' offenses at bay. And with all the turnover that they had at the skill positions on offense, you expected the offense to take a little longer to gel. But they have officially gelled, though. And especially last week, they showed that when a team commits to stopping one of their true strengths, in their case, it was the legs of Joshua Mack in the run game, well, then their offense can make adjustments, and they did, relying on their passing game to really seal the deal. continue drives and slam the door not once but twice against Seinäjoki. Can they get the get back now over Porvoo here this week? That'll be perhaps their biggest test of all this season.
And Dave, the Butchers have been somewhat of an enigma at times this year, at least for me. Coming off their unbeaten season and a dominant showing in the Maple Bowl last year, they did bring on a new quarterback in Donovan Isom, and early in the season, it seemed to me that they were looking to be a run-first, run-heavy team that sprinkled in the occasional throw downfield. This worked well for them if their defense allowed their offense to play from ahead, and early in the season, that defensive unit struggled mightily. On top of that, when they've needed first downs on the ground late in games, early in the season anyway, they came up short, and as a result, they saw both the Crocodiles and Roosters stage late-game comebacks against them. However, around the midway point, they began to spread the field a lot more and unleashed Isom in the passing game, and at the same time, it seems the defense is now trending in a more positive direction. My question for you is, what do you think is the identity of this team right now, and how scary are they entering this game as opposed to when they entered their sixth game of the year when they were just 3-2?
Well, Joe, I think you hit it on the head. You know, they're tough to figure out because they really haven't established their identity to me. And it's because they do have a little, spoil of riches offensively. And so they don't have to have a real crutch that serves as the foundation. And even though that's enigmatic and at times frustrating for us as broadcasters, what I do know about Porvoo is that pound for pound, they are the most talented team in the league, and they can find different ways to win games consistently, and they can afford to have an off game here and there because they have other ways to compensate. I think the struggle, however, has really been with the defense and allowing big plays. You and I are not used to seeing Porvoo victimized time and time again by huge 30, 40, 50-yard plays against their defense, because for all the good the offense does, to have it wiped away by a porous defense is tough. But, here's the thing. They, too, put a lot of pressure on the quarterback, so what they do defensively on first and second down will have a huge effect on how games go. They righted the ship with a few big wins, Joe, namely that 20-7 win over Seinäjoki, but Kuopio rolls in as by far their biggest test in some time, and this one is the test right here to see if they can put it all together for 48 minutes.
And as I mentioned last week, it wasn't too long ago that we were faced with the possibility of 6 or maybe even all 7 teams being alive in the race for the playoffs entering the final week. That door closed forcefully, and now the only question that remains is who is going to play who and where. We touched on the scenarios surrounding the number 1 seed already, but we'll throw that up on the screen now. And Dave, why don't you walk us through what a win would mean for each of these teams and what could be on the line next week when we cover the Roosters and Crocodiles in Week 12?
Well, Joe, it's pretty simple for Kuopio. Win and you've won the 2026 Maple League regular season championship. You've locked up the number 1 seed in the playoffs, and you have a home playoff game against the number 4 seed, whoever that will be. Lose, and via a tiebreaker, they will finish in second place. It's not a bad consolation prize. They'll still get the home game, but still, this game for them is about championship, regular season championship, or bust. For Porvoo, it's just slightly more complicated. A win tonight, and they are guaranteed the number 1 seed. Regular season championship and that first round home game, no matter what they do next week against Tampere, because even with a loss next week, they would win all the prospective tiebreakers with the other teams. However, with a loss, Porvoo could finish as high as second or as low as 4th. That will, of course, depend on what they do next week against the Saints, and also what the Crocodiles and Roosters do this week and what they will do against each other next week. You're seeing this week's schedule on your screen now, so you'll see the Crocodiles play the Royals, the Saints play the Roosters, and those two teams will lock up against each other next week, a game that we will have on PDF. So plenty on the line still, and we absolutely, positively won't know the order of the seeds 1 through 4 until after all games are played on the 12th and final weeks of the season. And for broadcasting, that's just the way we like it.
It sure is, but tonight The top seed in the Maple League and the coveted home field advantage in the postseason that comes along with it is on the line coming up next. In a rematch of a 43-42 thriller earlier this season, the Kuopio Steelers take on the Porvoo Butchers. Keys to the game and kickoff coming up next right here on the PDF Sports Network.
The PDF Sports Network is officially seeking sponsors for the 2026 Vaahteraliiga season. The Vaahteraliiga is the top professional American football league in Finland, and now, for the first time, is available in the English language and in the U.S., courtesy of PDF. Join us as we make history by showcasing the Maple League to a new worldwide audience. Our partnership with the Vaahteraliiga was recently featured in International Business Journal as a groundbreaking venture that in 2025 earned us a Global Recognition Award and a GHP Magazine Award for Best Local Live Broadcasting in the nation. It's time to bring our coverage to the next level and showcase your products and business to local and international audiences. Show your support now by calling us at 732-723-8189 or by emailing pdfsportsnet@gmail.com.
No, I'm right. The podcast that uncovers the origin stories of some of the biggest names in sports, media, and entertainment. Nick Durst here, along with Joe Caleb, wanted to do a podcast. Everyone was like, what are you, crazy? Who's going to listen?
I am so happy that you asked me to do this. I couldn't have been more thrilled. And follow us on socials, check us out. I promise you, if you want to work in media, come to us, and I promise you, we will get you on the right foot.
That's what it's all about, uncovering the origin stories of some of the biggest names in sports, media, and entertainment. Keep it locked on You Know I'm Right.
Refined, restorative, results-driven. At CMX iMed Bar, we blend medicine, aesthetics, and wellness into one luxury experience, led by Dr. Angela Roque. Located in the heart of Pier Village, Long Branch. Visit cmximedbar.com or text 9089-232-694 to look better, feel better, live elevated.
And we are back from Porvoo, Finland, where the number one seed in the Maple League is on the line here in Week 11. The Kuopio Steelers taking on the Porvoo Butchers. And Dave, with just a couple of minutes to go before opening kickoff, why don't you share with us your keys to the game? Let's start with the home team in this one, the Butchers.
Yeah, I think offensively for the Butchers, I think you have to really focus your offense around Christian Powell and Donovan Isom. Keep your offense simple, run the ball. Isom is just as good a runner as he is a passer. You have to insist on it. Make Kuopio respect it. That should open up Isom to be dynamic on his feet, in and out of the pocket, and have more success in the passing game. But you have to build the running game first. Defensively, I think you have to take a page out of what the Crocodiles did last week and key in on Joshua Mack, making sure the Steelers can't beat you with the run game. Limit his input, and it should allow your offense to dictate the game and force them to be more aggressive than they want to be. Don't let Jarman get comfortable in the pocket. For the Steelers, Joe, I think offensively, speaking of Jarman, short passing game. Pepper Porvoo with quick hits. Force them to step up, crowd the box, and then they can be hit over top. We've seen it happen against other teams. They got to get in and out of the huddle quick, keep their defense off balance. That's how Porvoo has been had in the past. Defensively for the Steelers, you can't stop everyone, right? So, I just don't want Isom to beat me with his legs. Don't over-pursue him and collapse the pocket so he could step up and run for 8, 10, 15 yards. Force him to go east and west. Force him to throw on the run. That's when Isom has been had in the past. And I think this game, Joe, is going to really come down to the kicking game as well. We don't talk about it a lot during pregame, but last game between these two teams decided by 1 point. Every extra point, every decision to go for it for 2 is critical, and those conversions will be big. The occasional field goal, we may or may not see it in this game. Look for that to be the difference in a game like this.
And speaking of key decisions, 4th down. We saw the Steelers early in the game go for it against the Crocodiles last week. They didn't get it. Their defense stepped up. They were in a very, very similar situation against Porvoo earlier this year. They did not go for it. I'm curious to see how aggressive they will be in this game. As we have kickoff from Porvoo, that one lands short and skips toward the sideline. Flag comes out on the play for the kick out of bounds.
Yeah, and we've seen oftentimes a re-kick on these. And we'll see if that'll be the case here.
To open the game, you're a coach, Dave. Are you going for the re-kick, or do you want that opportunity to return?
No.
I'm almost inclined to take the 40-yard line, Dave.
Yeah, me too. And it almost begs the question, is that even a possibility? Is the first time you kick it out of bounds in the Vaahteraliiga, in the Maple League, requisite that you have to re-kick? Because I'm starting to believe, Joe, that you have to allow them to re-kick.
Yeah.
I'm just... Right? Because it happens all the time now.
It sure
seems.
does. And I don't think we've ever seen a team awarded the field position after a first kick out of bounds. But do they move you back 5 yards
they
after
do.
that?
Yeah, absolutely. You can see it's at the 30 now.
And we'll try it again. This one fielded at the 20-yard line. The Steelers will get a chance to run it back. It's Stephan cutting up field. And he is taken down after a nice run back there just shy of the 35-yard line.
Yeah, so, Kuopio goes on offense first, and it begs the question, will they be able to hit Porvoo up top and over the top of the defense? And can they do that from the outset? Do they want to get Joshua Mack involved first and set up the run game? Do they want Jarman for the quick hits? We saw him use Isaac Marshall a lot early in the game, via the wide receiver screen. So, Kuopio is a team with a lot of, aces up their sleeve offensively. Let's see how they come out.
Kuopio in the gun on their first snap, trips to the left, and it looked like the Steelers were off sides as that got through Jarman. They will play on, and he is taken down. I am shocked they did not blow that play dead.
Yeah, and sometimes we see that get called when a team gets unabated to the quarterback to protect the quarterback, but they decided to let that play go because it would have been a free play, but instead it'll be a 1st and 5, and Kuopio does get awarded the free 5 yards, but Jarman had to take a shot in order to get it.
And very quickly on the opening kick return, it was Lero Pekarainen, not Stephan. It was 21, not 27 on the kick return for Kuopio. The 5-yard penalty will make it 1st and 5 for the Steelers. Ball spotted just shy of the Kuopio 40-yard line. Pre-snap motion man Joshua Mack, empty backfield. Jarman throwing to Mack, and it's through his hands, incomplete.
Yeah, and I think Mack knew that he was going to get slapped at the end of that play, and he did take a little bit of a shot, but that, you're right, Joe, went right through his hands there, and Kuopio misses a chance to get a quick 1st down on their first offensive play.
And we saw in the first meeting against Porvoo, Steelers were plagued by some drops in that game.
Yeah, that's
always
true. Yeah.
burn them, but it certainly caused a couple of drives to take more plays than they should have.
Yeah, uncharacteristic.
It's a handoff to Mack on 2nd and 5, and he is going to pick up a 1st down. Took that one out close to the 45.
Yeah, and we covered the game last week, and Mack just really couldn't get going, especially in the first half of that game against Seinäjoki. And you could tell it kind of frustrated the Steelers, Joe, because they weren't really able to pick themselves off the mat. You could tell they wanted to run the ball early in the game against the Crocodiles. And the Crocodiles, for all their struggles last week, they really solved Joshua Mack. Now, he ended up burning them in the second half. He scored 2 touchdowns, in the second half to kind of seal things up. But, this was a tough part of their game last week.
Trips to the left again. They will hand it off on the draw. Big hole up the middle. And a run into the second level. First carry of the game for Tuukka Latonen. I hear whistles, and I believe a flag was thrown.
Yeah, it was, right at the line of scrimmage. And Lettinen, Joe, you remember his first carry against Seinäjoki last week. He took it 46 yards for a touchdown. Talk about a nice change of pace back. This one will get called back. We'll get the call, and then we'll show you the replay. But, did a nice job of hitting the hole. It's a personal foul, too. Looked like a chop block was the signal, and they'll go back 15 yards, but we'll take a look at the replay.
So the run by Lettinen erased on the personal foul, and you said it, Dave. On his first touch last week, he broke free for a touchdown, and the circumstances around that touchdown run a bit unusual as well. It came following an intentionally taken safety by the Crocodiles, an onside attempt on the safety kick, and then first snap of the ensuing drive for the Steelers was the touchdown run for Lettinen.
Yeah, we talked about last week's game being an odd one for us. That was one of the odd instances of that game.
Jarman looking to throw here, airs it out left sideline, incomplete. Nobody home there, and looks like a bit of confusion between him and his intended target, Kuika.
Yeah, Kuika was the intended target, and I think Jarman maybe expected a back shoulder throw with Kuika stopping his route, and he never did. He ran the fly route all the way down the sideline. So miscommunication indeed, 2nd and 25 now. So in a pretty big hole here for Kuopio. We'll see what they elect to do and chop down this down and distance.
A bit surprised to see them throw that far down the field on a 1st and 25.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, Lettinen in the backfield alongside Jarman, trips to the left, and they will hand off up the middle. The Butchers are right there as Lettinen powers forward and turned what looked as if it was going to be a short gain into a gain of maybe 6 or 7.
Yeah, I got him for 7 yards on that play. And again, a nice job of hitting the hole and keeping the legs turning. And, you know, that right side of the line, it seems, is where they want to attack this Porvoo defense. So they've run it there 3 straight times to the right side of that line. And, you know, they're averaging, you know, plus 5, 6, 7 yards per carry if you include Lettinen's that was called back via the hold.
Looks like they're going to line up both Lettinen and Mack in the backfield, and I don't think they were both supposed to be there.
And we have a timeout called by the Steelers.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a count of how many Steelers are out on the field. It looks like they do have 11 out there, so it appears they were going to go with a 2-back set. But it seemed to me, as soon as Mack saw Lettinen in front of him, he called for timeout.
Yeah, maybe they both weren't supposed to be out there. Who knows? But, yeah, Mack was setting up about 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage. So that was an unorthodox way to come out there, and perhaps that's the reason for the timeout. Either way, it's early in the game for head coach Utranian and his staff. And, of course, knowing this game is a big one. Remember, Porvoo came back, Joe. I think we mentioned it, but 3 minutes left in the game. Porvoo was down by 14 points. They came back and scored 15 points in the final 3 minutes to come back and win that game by 1. And had Kuopio won that game, Joe, they would already be the champs, and we'd maybe be talking about, do you rest starters in a game like this?
Yeah,
you know,
that is very true. Steelers will try it again on 3rd and 18. They'll fake the handoff. Jarman moving to his left, throws the screen, and it's blown up. Well done by the Butchers defensively as Mack was taken down behind the line of scrimmage, maybe a yard or 2 ahead of it.
Well, you know, I have to say, Joe, I don't mind the call here. I think, you know, this is a play that sometimes we've seen work because the, you know, defense is not expecting that. As Kuopio's lining up to punt very quickly, we'll get you back, but we'll see how the screen pass was blown up. And that's just a good job by the Porvoo defense to just stay home and not get fooled by it and then make the short tackle. Ended up being a loss of 2.
I do not have a 43 on my Porvoo roster. As the Butchers have a chance for a return here toward the far sideline, and tripped up was Lucas Arola. Butchers will start at their own 30.
Yeah, so we can't give credit to the tackler there, but that's a nice job by Porvoo. And again, that's another example, Joe, and we've said it numerous times, of when a team takes a bad penalty on 1st down, and in that instance for Kuopio, it was a personal foul chop block. You know, it brought them back 15 yards, and that kind of derailed their drive. That was looking, you know, pretty good, pretty decent for a first drive.
Empty backfield for Isom. He wants to throw it downfield, airs it out. Incomplete. And his man had a step on that play. It was Keith Emmanuel Coffey II up the sideline, and he got a hand on that football.
I'll tell you, the number 7 has been a very big number for this Porvoo team. You know, we've seen J.J. Jones Jr. wear that number. We saw Grice wear that number for a couple of weeks, and now we have a new number 7, and almost a brilliant one-handed catch, too, on that play.
Second down, handoff, Powell. Left side, stopped right near the line of scrimmage for a gain of 1.
Yeah, and this is another calling card to this Porvoo offense. Is we've seen this before, Joe. Passing on first down, being incomplete, and then going back to Christian Powell on second down, usually to get you 5 or 6 or 7. In that case, only 1, so it's 3rd and long.
Trips to the right, stacked wide. Isom looking that way now, throws over the middle, complete. Irola with room. And he is brought down from behind. That's a good tackle on the play by Christopher Cox. And a first down for the Butchers on the completion to Irola.
Yeah, and Tuka Michaela, the safety, fell down on the play. I'm not sure if he was going to be able to make a play on the pass reception, but he could have made the tackle right there at the sticks. Instead, he kind of slid down, and that allowed Irola to continue to progress up the field for another 10, 15 yards, and they're in Kuopio territory.
Porvoo quick to the line, working in plus territory. And they will hand off to Powell. He cuts up field, and he just made that run look so easy. It seemed like he might be stopped behind the line. Patient run, cuts up field, and picks up about 5.
Yeah, we say it all the time with Christian Powell, and the one reason why I love watching him run is that the legs are always moving. He's never dancing at the line of scrimmage. He is hitting a hole immediately, and that's what makes a 1-yard gain look like a 5-yard gain.
Porvoo to the line quickly once again. Isom in the gun, flanked by Powell. And he will hand off for a second straight play. Powell, with a nice run, picks up the first down.
Yeah, you know what, Joe? This is what I like most about Porvoo's offense. A lot of people like the dynamic, plays and runs down, passes down the field. I love this. Just smash mouth football, your biggest guys against my biggest guys. And then when you have a running back like Christian Powell, I'm surprised they don't do this more and run 25, 30 times a game. I know you want to keep him healthy for the playoff run, but this is when they're at their best right here.
And they will hand to Powell again. Powell looking for a crease, lunges forward, and picks up another nice gain as this Butcher's drive now really gaining some traction in the ground.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, when you feel like you can control the line of scrimmage, it's everything in football. I mean, at all levels, right? I mean, if your offensive line is moving people, you're going to be in good shape throughout the game. And then Christian Powell just does the rest. But that's a very, ho-hum 5-yard gain on first down. Make it look easy.
Trips to the left. Isom looking that way, wants to throw it downfield, tipped incomplete. Getting a hand on that just barely was a number 11 who we don't have on our roster.
It's Sepinen, Joe. Sepinen was put on the injured list this week, but I guess he is dressing. So we kept him off the roster because he was listed as questionable, I believe. But Sepinen is, one of the leading receivers in Maple League history. He's got over 10,000 all-purpose yards and as a receiver, but he was not going to get out of the lineup this week. And Isom's yet to complete a pass here on this drive. It's 3rd and 5, and it's going to be a big play right here.
And they might have 2 plays to pick up this first down. Isom in the gun. Powell back there with him. He fakes the handoff and rolls right. Throwing incomplete. He wanted Sepinen there.
Yeah, and that is it because they are going for it here on 4th and 5.
Once again, trips to the left. They are bunched and stacked wide. Isom looking that way, will throw for Irola, and it's broken up. A good defensive play there by Tuka Michaela, and the Butchers turn it over on downs.
Perfect defensive play. That's actually a good read by Isom. He picks out the wide receiver who's sitting at the first down marker. That's the read. Maybe could have zipped it in with a little bit more pop there, but that's just a great play by the defensive back right there, Michaela, to get in there right at the last second, not put a hand on the back, so you're not being a victim of the pass interference there. Make a good defensive play, and Isom, I believe, Joe, 0 for 5 on that drive.
Yeah, by my estimation, Dave, he got this ball out a bit too late. As the Steelers complete a first down pass, a strike over the middle from Jarman to Marshall.
Yeah, and I apologize. Isom did have one completion on that drive. That was the one to Irola that went for a first down.
Well, they completed that was the Steelers on the screen pass.
It was the pass to Arola where the safety fell down. That was his only completion. But, Joe, they got away from the run, right? They ran the ball 3 straight times. Christian Powell got them about 15, 16 yards on those 3 runs. And then they went pass, and they turned the ball over on downs.
Jarman in the gun. They need about a yard for a first down. Jarman throwing deep down the field. His receiver falls, and the ball lands incomplete out of bounds.
Yeah, you don't mind the shot take there, though, on 2nd down and 1. You feel very comfortable that you can make it on 3rd and 1, so you do take the shot. But, Jarman 0 for 2 on these passes of 20-plus yards there and not even close to either one, and that's a situation where the wide receiver falls on the play. Still, that was drifting out of bounds and didn't look like it was going to have much of a shot. So on 3rd and 1 here, you'd expect a very conservative play to get the first down here and keep the drive alive.
You'd expect that, wouldn't you?
Right.
Shotgun look for the Steelers. Speed option. They pitch it back. Mack is in trouble, and Mack is taken down. A huge loss on the play. Nico Royko in on the tackle.
Man, you ain't kidding. That's a huge loss. I think that's a loss of about 14 yards on the play. And it will set up, I think, a 4th and 15, maybe even more. It's going to be a lot more than that.
I don't get that.
Oh, yeah,
at all,
no,
Dave.
4th and 15, yeah.
But
so they lost
very
14
quickly,
yards on that play.
It seems like a decent enough time to make a point that I wanted to make at the end of the last Butchers drive. They've really taken away the ground game from Donovan Isom. They've not used him as a runner nearly as much in recent weeks during the games we've covered.
Yeah.
Early in the year, that was arguably their biggest weapon.
Sure.
This punt is going to land out of bounds. I think that was around the 45-yard line.
Yeah, it was short. They're still walking it up the field.
Yep,
Yeah, 45.
Right at the 45. The big screen helps.
And you're right, Joe, and that's what I emphasized in the pregame as well. The run game with Powell and Isom. Isom is just as good of a runner, and he's bigger. He's physically bigger than Christian Powell, which sounds ludicrous to even say. But when he drops a shoulder, he lays the boom down on some of these smaller defensive backs and linebackers.
They'll throw a quick screen on 1st down. Irola with a nice burst up the sideline, picks up about 5.
Yeah, so a high percentage throw. Isom with only that 1 completion on the first drive, misfired 5 times. You want to get him back into a little bit of rhythm. That's just a simple 1-step drop, hit him in the flat, and get yourself 5 easy yards.
The Butchers very quickly at midfield. Once again lined up in the gun, 4 receivers on the field. And Isom will look to throw. Time running out, on the move, completes. And there is room toward the sideline. And Mickey Kaye, Dave, who was also listed as a potential absence, makes the catch and picks up a first down.
Yeah, he's been banged up, for a good portion of the year. He's been in and out. Remember, he does play defense as well, so we haven't seen a lot of him at wide receiver and, as a big threat target for Donovan Isom. But he has the ability to do this, and when he has the ball in his hands, he's very dynamic as well.
First down, Porvoo. Ball inside of the Kuopio 40-yard line now. And they'll get back to the running game. It's a handoff to Powell. He lowers the shoulder. And I think he picked up about 4 on that first down run.
Yeah, that's what I have him at, is 4 yards on that play. And again, this is, I think, a part of the game that Porvoo just needs to insist upon. And I would go right back to it here on 2nd down.
See what they do. This time Powell lined up to the right of Isom. Once again, 4 receivers on the field for Porvoo. And Isom will keep it, fake the flip, find room, pick up the first down and more. As this drive now has incorporated a run by the Butchers quarterback.
Yeah, and I love it. I love it because as a defense now, I don't know what to expect, right? Because now I got to worry about this guy too. I have to worry about Zero cutting up the field and running downhill. I don't want that, and I think Porvoo has to insist on that to, again, keep the Steelers' defense off balance.
Isom again looking toward that bunch. His man goes down, and he completes over the middle. Ahmad Al-Rubai on the reception takes it in for 6.
And that play, Joe, was actually broken at the start, because if you notice on the replay now, you'll see one of the receivers falls on this play, and it almost forces Isom to change things up, and he starts directing traffic out there. I don't think this play developed as he would have wanted to because of the slip and fall by the receiver, and so kind of breaks up the play, and he finds Al-Rubai for the score. It's a great job.
And the PAT is up and good. And the Butchers strike first. They lead it 7-0 on the touchdown pass from Isom to Al-Rubai. And Dave, I think something you and I are going to agree on. I think both of us really like that Butchers drive.
Oh, absolutely. That was a good mix of run and pass. Remember, it started with a very high percentage pass in the flat. Get Isom, warmed up again. Get him ready for, the end of that drive. He was dynamic with the legs on that drive. We knew that was going to be a big factor, in this game as well. A little dash of Christian Powell never hurts either. And we're going to get a second look at the score now. And a good job by Isom. Sets his feet, kind of threw it off of his back foot, but Al-Rubai cutting across the middle, maybe a second or third option on that play, and the Butchers are up 7-0 here in the first.
Steelers now looking to respond, trailing by a touchdown, and their first drive did get off to a promising start, completely derailed by the personal foul, and we'll see if they can bounce back. Drive number 2 saw them with a 2nd and 1, and they never picked up a first down. Instead, threw incomplete on 2nd and 1 and had a massive loss on the speed option, which came on 3rd and 1.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Steelers now, for the first time, down on the scoreboard on the road, have to have a response.
And there it is again, a kickoff out of bounds. So I think it's safe to say we're going to back them up 5 yards here.
Yep, and a re-kick.
Very interesting that they don't incorporate that into the rules for the Maple League. It's really a hybrid of NFL and college rules, but in college, do they do the same thing where you get this opportunity? Because I don't know of this rule in effect anywhere else.
Right. I don't know of it either, Joe, and I'm not a big follower of NCAA football.
Neither am I.
I am on the high school level where it is not. You can take the ball, 30 yards up the field. So, but yeah, I'll have to look into that for sure. I mean, I don't know that for a fact, but I just think the way.
Yeah, there's no way you don't take
here.
the 40 if you have that choice. So
yeah,
I think it's automatically 5 yards back, and if they do it a second time, I would assume.
Yeah, then they get the ball.
You get the ball, but have we ever seen that? I think we
have
once.
Actually. Yeah, I think we have.
Maybe we'll see it here. Not this time. Steelers will get a chance to run it back, and it's Cox accelerating toward the 40, and he took a couple of players with him, one of his own and one Butcher. Decent starting field position for Kuopio on this drive.
Yeah, and they've had decent field position on every drive so far, and they really haven't been able to string much together. The last drive really with that huge negative play on 3rd down, and remember that 3rd and 1 coming off the heels of a 2nd and 1 where they went over top and looked for the home run, thinking that, we feel real comfortable about getting this 1 yard on 3rd down. It ended up being a 14-yard loss on that play.
I have a feeling they won't be taking any of those for granted again as they fake the handoff and a flag comes out. So
yeah, there was definitely some movement there by a couple of players.
Yeah, we've seen now the penalty, of course, on the personal foul, drive number 1. This now drive number 3 begins with a false start. These add up over the course of a game, and against a team like the Butchers, playing the way they have defensively over the last several weeks, it's been a bit better the last 3 games. Part of that, weather and opponents, but your numbers are what they are, and the Steelers can't afford to fall behind by 2 scores.
Well, you mentioned it last week, Joe, that they were the most penalized team in the Maple League. And, we saw it on that first drive where they went backwards 15 yards to make it 1st and 25, and they couldn't come back from that.
And there's Joshua Mack getting low to the turf, lunging forward, and I think he ended up about 2 yards short of the original line of scrimmage.
Yeah, did good job to kind of lunge forward at the very end there to get himself nearer to the original line of scrimmage, but I call this a second and the long 11 here. And still, you're compensating now for that 5-yard loss on first down via the penalty. So you're not back there yet. So here we go, second and 11 now. Your second chance to get back to the original line of scrimmage and then some.
Jarman in the gun. Pair of receivers stacked wide to each side of the formation. He is throwing right down the field, complete. Big completion for Jarman. Still on his feet and finally brought down at the 5-yard line is Oliver Karkanen.
Well, again, that they've scouted this team. They know that they can be hit over top. We mentioned it in the pregame as well. And one thing that Kuopio is insisting on is trying it. And, if at first you don't succeed, try again. This is why right here. You have Karkanen getting, past the defense there. There's no safety help over top, and he's able to take that all the way up to the 6-yard line. It'll be a 1st and goal.
The Steelers with quite the response early on this drive, number 3. 1st and goal. Jarman, play fake. Moving to his left, throwing goal line, incomplete. And wanting a flag was Karkanen. He will get one.
Yeah, so not so fast. I moved it to 2nd down, and it looks like it'll be 1st down instead, half the distance-wise. And see if I can grab that replay in time. I think I can.
So we'd assume this is going to be a flag for defensive pass interference based on where the flag came from.
Are they going to pick it up?
All right, no flag on the play, and you can put that 2nd down back up on the screen.
I can. We just got another look at the replay, too, and I think that's a pretty good call. I mean, I don't think Karkanen had his motion stopped, and, yeah, I'm okay with that non-call there.
Yeah, I agree. Jarman in the gun once again, a tight formation and handoff to Mack. He breaks one tackle, churning his legs, gets inside of the 5, down to about the 3-yard line.
Yeah, got about halfway home now, so for the Steelers here, a big 3rd and goal, and you wonder if they would go for the full 6 points on a 4th and goal, if they're able to creep up a little bit closer here or just stay right where they are. It'll be an interesting decision here. It's about where you would kick an extra point as well as far as a field goal is concerned, but before we can get to that, huge 3rd down here.
Once again, a tight shotgun formation. Jarman, play fake, throwing, left, touchdown Steelers! It's Isaac Marshall on the receiving end.
Well, that one looked kind of easy, and you know what? Marshall just made the one quick move, and all he had to do was come out of his break, and that ball was right on him. Perfect synchronization there with Jarman on the feeder, and it's 7-6, and the Steelers an extra point away from knotting this game up.
We mentioned both Mack and Marshall well above the 10-touchdown mark. I think that's number 12 for Marshall by my count. Bit of a high snap on the PAT, but the kick is up and good to tie the score. And Kuopio, even with Porvoo, at 7 here in the 1st quarter.
Well, great response by Kuopio, and they did it by coming back from a flag that made a 1st and 10, a 1st and 15. Not a huge deal, but we saw how that tripped up Kuopio on their first drive. Instead, they're able to come back. They get the one play over top that they've been knocking at the door on, and it finally worked. It set them up, and 3 plays later, they're in the end zone on a very high percentage play from Jarman and Marshall, and we're back tied up here. Still in the 1st quarter. We got to think we're pretty late in this 1st quarter now, but the battle of the Titans, and both teams have landed a couple of right hooks here in the early rounds.
We've seen good things from both teams on both sides of the ball. We've seen, of course, the 4th down stop by Kuopio with their defense backed up close to the red zone. That big play on 3rd down by the Porvoo defense, causing the loss of 14 for the Steelers on that speed option. And now with the score tied, the Steelers will kick it off to the Butchers in a 7-7 ball game. And that one sent straight out of the frame and into the end zone for a touchback.
Okay. So that was Kuopio's first kickoff of the game, correct? Because they received the opening kickoff. So pretty good success on their kickoff there, and Porvoo backed up for the first time.
They won't have to worry about kicking from 5 yards further.
Right.
I really liked what we saw from the Butchers on their last drive, Dave. They got ISOM involved in the running game. Short, quick passing. We've seen a bit more of that from them earlier in the year, but not as much beyond the midway point. They've seemed like a different team. There's a handoff. Powell stumbling forward, and he just managed to turn what would have been a 2-yard gain into a gain of close to 4 or 5 yards.
Yeah, 100%. And I really think, the Butchers, and, we talk about this offline a lot, Joe. I think the Butchers are still the favorites here. I mean, listen, they're the defending champs for a reason. They didn't suffer a single loss last year. Their 2 losses this year were by what, a total of 3 points, Joe, right? They lost by 2 to the Roosters and 1. They lost by 3 to the Crocodiles and 2 to the Roosters, right? So, they're still just as good as every single team in this league, and they're still one of the favorites here as we reach the end of the first quarter. But I think if they're going to be good for the stretch run and the playoffs, I think it's still going to have to be Christian Powell, who really serves as the bell cow for this team. And, he's got a factor. He's got to be the big factor offensively for this team. That's just my opinion.
When I look at this Butchers team, my big concern is, of course, the big scoring numbers that have been put up against them, and they don't lose either of those 2 games if their defense is a bit better. However, their offense was right there with their opponent in both of those games. So you can look at it as the offense having the potential to make up for any shortcomings on the defensive side, which in games against other playoff teams has been a problem. And I think we've seen more from some of the other playoff teams defensively than we've seen from Porvoo. That being said, I said it a couple of weeks ago. If they really figure things out on both sides of the ball, I think they have the highest ceiling of the playoff teams, without a doubt. And you said you believe they were the most talented. I think I'm inclined to agree with you, certainly on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think defensively they have been very, very susceptible. But I think when you have an offense like the Butchers, it masks a lot of your deficiencies on defense, because I believe that the Butchers, pound for pound, can score on every single drive. I mean, I think that because if you say to yourself, okay, we are not going to let Christian Powell beat us on this drive, we're just going to key on him, well, then you have to worry about Luca Rolla. And then you have to worry about, Sepinen. You have to worry about now Coffey the second. You have to worry about Isom coming out and running the ball and what he can do in the air. So they just can't be had one way. They have multiple ways to beat you.
They line up in the pistol here. Quick throw to the right, and I think that's the best case scenario there. It's a low pass, incomplete, and making a break on that ball was the defensive back, Pekarainen.
Yeah, and it looked like Isom just came out of his hands funny here. It's like he almost
I think that was a good thing for him, because that was a dangerous throw.
Torpedoed it into the ground.
3rd and 5. Isom will look to throw again, wants the screen, and couldn't get it to Powell.
Now, was that tipped at the line, Joe?
Had to be.
Yeah, because that also came out really funny. Kind of like tried to nurse it over the defensive line. We're going to look at it again, and we're going to slow it down as much as we can before the punt. And we'll get another look at it here. Yeah, I think it was altered at the line.
Yeah, I think so. But we've seen now a couple of times these 2 teams attempting the screen pass, and both times it does not work. This punt takes a good Porvoo bounce, skipping toward the 20.
What are the Steelers
I'm
doing?
not quite sure why you'd ever want to get that close to the ball on the return team.
Well, that's a teachable moment. I think that was Mac, right, who was standing over the ball. And there's no reason for that. That the only thing that can happen there is something bad for Joshua Mack.
So the Steelers will take over at their own 20-yard line. And their defense in this game, I would say, has picked up where they left off last week. We've seen a lot of good from this Steelers defense. They break through with the touchdown on offensive drive number 3, looking for their first lead of the game here. Trips to the right, Jarman in the gun. And he will throw to Mack, blocking set up in front of him, makes one man miss, gets another block from Kuopio before he's forced out of bounds.
Yeah, I think he'll be just short of the first down, but that's a nice play. And I'll tell you what, Jarman just threw a dart to Mack in the backfield there. But what it allowed Mack to do is then use his feet, and he had some open green ahead of him, and that's when he's at his best, when he can lift his eyes, survey the field, and be dynamic in the open field. He makes one guy miss, and it takes the second and third effort to bring him down. 2nd down and 1 coming up.
2nd and 1 again, and they will throw. That is complete on the screen pass, and it will be enough for a first down to Karkanen.
Yeah, so we've seen them, 2nd and short a couple of times here in this game, 3rd and short as well, and they've almost exclusively gone to the air. That time a little bit more high percentage there in the flat to Karkanen, and it moves the sticks, gets him out to the 32-yard line now. A little bit more breathing room here for Kuopio, and they get a fresh new set of downs.
1st and 10 Steelers from their own 32-yard line. Jarman back in the gun. Throws short. Karkanen again spins away from one tackler and dives down just shy of the 40.
Yeah, nice little job in the open field there by Karkanen. Again, it's a very high percentage throw. If you're Jarman, you don't have to worry about pressure on a play like this. Porvoo just doesn't have the time to get any pressure there in the backfield. Karkanen's pretty much left alone down there in the low zone there, hanging out between a couple linebackers, and a little spin move there is able to get himself 8 yards on first down. Maybe a little less.
2nd and about 3 or 4 as the handoff to Mack, and he is stood up maybe at the line of scrimmage, perhaps got a half a yard, and that will bring up 3rd and short.
Yeah, so we'll call it 3rd and 3. But, yeah, it's a big play here. It's 3rd and rather short. You'd like your chances here if you're Kuopio. And, again, this is that area of the field where they actually went for it a couple of times against Seinäjoki. Would they do it again against Porvoo here in a tie game in the second quarter? Well, this play makes the difference right here. A lot of cushion here on the near side of the field.
And they will hand off. Mack finds a hole, trucks a man, and picks up the first. And he crosses midfield before he finally goes down in Porvoo territory.
Yep, and we have to apologize to number 52 of Porvoo, Joe. UC Michaela, because he does get run over here, and we're going to see it nice and slow motion as well. Yeah, you just saw it on your screen. Now, he popped right back up, and he was there in the neighborhood to try and finish the tackle, but Mack got him good on that one, 1st and 10.
You could say he finished what Mack started.
Yeah.
Jarman fakes the handoff, looking left, throws sideline complete, and diving toward the first down marker and nearly picking it up was Lettinen. Did he get there, or did he fall out of bounds just short?
I think they're moving. No, I think the sticks are staying where they are. So.
I think they're going to say he's short. I think he contacted the sideline short.
Oh,
in fact, he stepped on it way short.
Yeah, 2nd and about 3 coming up.
Yeah, I thought he was a bit closer than that, but they'll say he stepped on the sideline.
I don't know. We just saw the replay, and I'm inclined to disagree with that.
I thought he was closer, for sure. 2 backs in the backfield once again. They'll hand off to Mack this time. And he can't find any running room as he's dragged down.
Well, Porvoo's done the job on 2nd down, that's for sure. It's the 3rd down here that they're going to have to try and come through, where they couldn't on the last series. Let's see what they do here. And, again, it's about the same down and distance. It's a little bit more now. It's about 3rd and 4, a long 4, after the loss of 1 on 2nd. So see what Kuopio decides to do here, and if Porvoo can stop it. It was Mack the last time, and here again, 2 running backs in the backfield. Now Mack peeling off.
Mack, the man in motion, and it's a screen left. That play had no chance. And Dave, I am shocked at how poorly these offenses have played when they've had second down and 5 or less.
Yeah, and that time, again, it's just one of those cases where the defense just is not fooled. You see Mack kind of, peel out of the backfield. You think maybe that, he's going to be the guy who shows, and it's just an underneath screen here, but it did not fool number 4, Timmy Nwika, who's been a very dynamic defensive back for this Butchers team all season long. But on 4th and 4, almost expectedly here on Porvoo side of the field, they are going.
I mentioned how aggressive they were last week during the pregame. Jarman wants to throw it, gets it out, incomplete. Kawika was wide open, the pass was a bit low, and the pressure certainly altered that throw.
Yep, you took the words out of my mouth, Joe. The pressure is what did it here on this play because, the look was there. It would have been, the defensive back was there with the receiver, no question, but this is a product of pressure, and Jarman just, backpedaling, trying to get this one off, not to be, and another big hold on a 3rd and 4th down here in a game like this. 7-7, the Butchers take over at their own 44.
Good field position for Porvoo. And a handoff to Powell, running room toward the sideline, and a big collision about 2 yards short of the sticks.
Yeah, so they go low on Powell. They're able to take him down 2 yards shy of the first, but that's a good first down run for the Butchers. Again, one of their trademarks as well. Set them up 2nd and 3rd and short. Make that a 2nd and 1 coming up.
Porvoo to the line quickly once again. Trips to the left out of the gun. Bit of confusion there between Powell and Isom as Powell picks up just enough for the first.
Yeah, at first I thought Isom was going to look to keep it, and I thought he hesitated because he saw just the penetration by the Steelers on that play. They came through all right, but yeah, nice play in the backfield there. Gets them the yard they needed.
Yeah, it looked like there was some confusion on that play. I can't imagine that was the design for that handoff. Looked very awkward. Isom in the gun, flanked by Powell. Bit of a high snap, handed off to Powell. And he's going to pick up about 4 yards on first down.
Yeah, there's some hard yards now that he's getting, but that's the 3rd straight carry now for Powell. And again, I would love a change of pace here and have Isom take one himself here. Keep with the ball on the ground. I love the ground game. I would have Isom take this one himself.
I get the feeling he has the option to keep some of these. Not everyone, but on some of these plays, I think he has the option to keep. Here he'll look to throw, and that is a poor pass, too low for Kaye.
I'll tell you what, Isom has been erratic on the short throws and much better on the deeper ones, 10 yards down the field. I mean, this is just a really normal play. We say it about a lot of teams. This play you got to make. Your wide receiver's running basically a 5-yard route here, and it's an easy kind of going over the middle of the field to make the catch, and you just can't execute.
There's a handful of plays each game that you have to have as an offense. That's one of them for sure.
Yeah.
An extended draw and a big hole for Powell. He breaks a tackle inside the 30, down to the 20, and stood up there after a big run to pick up the first down and much more.
Well, you have a really good running back when on 3rd and 7 you could do something like this where you feel confident calling a play like this because you think it's going to work. And on the delay, like you said, again, the defensive ends over-pursue just a little bit, do the job that you expect them to do on an obvious passing down, and the Butchers take advantage of it by running the ball on the delay.
Isom in the gun with trips to the left. He is throwing right, and he throws incomplete.
Yeah, that one was in no man's land there, and that time, it looked like peeling off, Coffey the second was the intended receiver, but that one was thrown towards the back pylon, and Coffey was nowhere close.
Yeah, I almost think if he threw that back shoulder toward the front pylon,
right,
big body, he has a chance.
Mm-hmm. Turn around and catch that one, yeah.
Once again, trips to the left, and they'll hand off to Powell, who makes a nice cut, and that is a dangerous play for Sepinen. He got rolled up on and is a bit slow to get up.
Yeah, you can see he's kind of hobbling off, and he was listed again as questionable in this game. But it's going to be a 3rd and 6 here, and they are working very quickly here, are the Butchers.
Trips to the right this time. As they line up a bit closer to the left hash, Isom wants to throw it. Time running out. He takes off, running to his left. Stiff arm, still on his feet.
Oh.
He bowls over Cox and gets forced out of bounds. And they'll exchange a brief handshake after that collision.
Yeah, I just love it. I mean, that's football for you, man. When you have a quarterback who's this big and who's rumbling out of the backfield, wow. You know, usually, Joe, when you're a defensive player and you see the quarterback running, you're like, ooh, you're like licking your chops. You're like, I can't wait to hit this guy. Nope.
Not that guy.
Exactly.
Not that one.
Exactly.
But those are the situations where Isom's legs come up absolutely huge for this Porvoo offense. On third down when the play breaks down. It's a handoff to Powell here on 1st and goal, and he tiptoes the sideline before he's forced out of bounds.
Yeah, he kind of stopped right at the sideline there and wanted to go towards the hash marks again to try and cut that one up. And he got, halfway there. He's about the 3-yard line, maybe the 3.5, 4-yard line here. It'll be 2nd down and goal coming up. Porvoo knocking on the door. Actually, they marked that at the 2-yard line, so good healthy pickup there on 1st.
I think it's 4 downs all the way for Porvoo, barring a penalty here. It's 2nd and goal from the 2. Isom will keep looking for a crease, and he's short.
Yeah, a good job by Kuopio that time to really get him low and kind of stop his progress and then get on top of him. He got halfway there. It'll be 3rd and goal from the 1. And somebody just said it in my headset. QB keep again was the call. Somebody said it.
I think one of the Steelers supporters is expecting Isom to run it. It is Powell, and Powell is in for the Butchers' touchdown.
There is a flag down, Joe.
Yeah, you can tell by the reaction.
Yeah, right at the snap. So I believe this may have been a procedural call against the Butchers here. Oh, no.
It's against the Steelers. The touchdown is good, and Porvoo leads it 13-7.
All right, so we're going to back it up here. And, yeah, it was a quick snap, actually. They got set, and they snapped it very quickly. Might have gotten the defense there. Offsides. Don't really see it yet. Oh, we do get to see the touchdown at least, though.
Butchers set up for the PAT. And off the foot of Minkinen. That is good to make it a 7-point game.
Well, all of this drive went 56 yards, and again, it was as a result of the Butchers' defense really clamping down, forcing a stop on 4th down when Kuopio went for it. They came up big defensively. They gave their offense good field position, and it was another drive, Joe, where it was eclectic. You had Isom with that big run there towards the end. It was a healthy dose of Christian Powell. There was some passes there mixed in. But overall, another good-looking offensive drive for the Porvoo Butchers, and they're up by 7 again here in the 2nd.
And I think we've seen what I would call, for lack of a better term, the greatest hits of the Butchers offense. A little bit of everything they do well. Handing it off to Powell, being willing to give him the ball 3 straight plays, 5 yards a pop, no problem. Isom on the design quarterback runs, able to lower his shoulder and make the highlight reel with the big truck as Cox forced him out of bounds. Enough throwing down the field, enough in terms of completed passes to keep drives going when they need passes to keep the drive alive, and it ultimately results in a touchdown. It's fitting that Powell scored it.
Yeah,
Cox
it is
brought down across the 25.
It is, Joe, and the other thing is the things that we don't see. And what we didn't see on that drive were flags. And, the Butchers are not hurting themselves either in this game. It's not to say that Kuopio really has, but Kuopio has been the team that has taken some penalties there. We saw the big, personal foul in their first drive. We saw a procedural play. If the Butchers didn't score that touchdown, they would have had it half the distance because of the offsides defensively. So it's the Steelers that have been, tagged with the flag here in this first half. The Butchers have stayed relatively clean.
Kuopio in the gun. Jarman looking to his right, complete to Kawika, who continues fighting and drags 4, make it 3 defenders. It was 4. One got lost in there, and how about that effort from Kawika?
Yeah, Kawika's been, kind of a silent killer on this team. He makes some big catches, especially on third down. And when the team really needs a big play, Kawika has been there. And there's another example of, makes the catch. That would have been good for 7 or 8 yards. But instead, the extra effort gets him 6 more, and it's first down.
Empty backfield this time. The motion man, Mack. They'll fake the handoff to him and throw over the middle, complete. And it's a big play over the middle for this Kuopio offense. That's Liro Pekapaki on the reception.
Yeah, I believe that's his first target. Nice big target over the middle of the field for Jarman. Jarman able to step back, a little fake jet sweep there, and instead, nice big healthy target. Put it up there high, let your tight end get to it, and bring that one down as we have a timeout here. Will this be the 2-minute warning here? Indeed it will.
2 minutes to go, first half, and the final play before that 2-minute warning is a big completion for this Kuopio offense. Believe that is their biggest play of the game, if I'm not mistaken. The run was called back by Lettinen earlier. And Dave, something that I've picked up this year, and I think you probably noticed it as well, it is rare that a tight end maintains longevity on a roster and produces at a high level in terms of big catches in big situations week to week. The wideouts do so much of the receiving and big playmaking in these games.
Yeah, because I think, speed is always what kills, and you kind of utilize, the big distance game. But I think you're right. Yeah, I think, the tight end position is one in the Maple League that's kind of reserved for being a blocker, for sealing that edge, if you will, and maybe being your last option, right? Like your third or fourth option, who's somebody hanging out down low, or maybe he's, peeling away from the line of scrimmage after a chip block. We've seen it that time. But, yeah, the utilization of big, healthy targets in the middle of the field is kind of a rarity in the Maple League. And, you wonder why sometimes, because there is some talent there on a few different rosters, good talented tight ends on these rosters.
Yeah, and when you look at this week's Butchers roster, there is not a player on it officially listed as a tight end.
That's true, yeah.
Coming out of the 2-minute warning, the Steelers pick up this drive in Butchers territory. Jarman looking to throw. Clean pocket, throwing downfield and intercepted. It's picked off by Rassie Littlejohn. He's up the sideline and forced out of bounds just shy of the 45-yard line.
Well, good job of tracking this ball down in the secondary by Littlejohn. And it was put in traffic. It's one of those situations, Joe, where you're putting the ball up and you're trying to get your receiver to make a play. But what good lift coming off of his feet by Rassie Littlejohn to get to this one, elevating. It's not the poorest of throws, but just a nice job. And then he's got a lot of black jerseys in front of him who's able to spring him to basically the same line of scrimmage where Kuopio just gave the ball up.
Yeah, Jarman needed a bit more on that ball. Littlejohn was playing facing the quarterback as Isom in a collapsing pocket was lucky to get that one away. But the way Littlejohn was playing the football, he was square to the passer. If there's more air on that, Nick gets over his head, he's not going to be able to turn his hips and make a play.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true, because his body would have been too contorted to double back. So you're right. If that ball is lofted a little bit more, then maybe it's able to meet the receiver for a touchdown. But instead, Littlejohn played it perfectly.
Well, if you're the Steelers, an incomplete pass, the best possible start on this Butchers drive, and there's another. And I have to say, Dave, I am surprised they didn't run it on first down.
Yeah, me too, because they still have the time. I mean, we're keeping the time on the field. We have 1:40 left, even with these two, incompletions. But, and again, some real blatant misses here by Isom as well. I mean, these passes are really not close. I mean, the wide receivers have no chance here on these last two, and now it's 3rd and 10.
Trips to the left. 3rd and 10. Steelers will bring 4, and this time they hand off.
Yeah, because that at least
Powell
keeps
gets
the
about
clock
halfway
moving.
there.
Yeah, it keeps the clock moving, and now you have to, if you're Kuopio, you're going to have to spend a timeout to stop it on 4th
They're not
and
going
6.
to, Dave.
No, the clock is running. Now, they do have 2 timeouts left, but, you know, Porvoo will get this down to about a minute before they need to kick.
This is very odd. It's almost as if the Butchers played that drive out with the expectation that Kuopio either did not have any timeouts or was not going to call one.
Yeah. Well, I think you run it there because you expected them fully to call one there, but they didn't. They'll save it for their offense. Wow, what a kick.
And that takes a great Porvoo bounce and comes to rest at the 3. So with under a minute to go in the second quarter, and they're going to walk this one out to the 15. So that landed out of bounds somewhere,
I guess,
before
yeah,
skipping up the sideline and coming to rest inside the 5.
So we're not official, Joe. So those of you who are watching this game, we are not official as far as time, but we have 44 seconds to go, and now they've moved it to the 10, Joe. So, oh, no, it is the 15. You're right. 44 seconds to go. The Steelers do have 2 timeouts left. They are down by 7 here, so you wonder what they'll try and do here.
Jarman in the gun. Wants to throw it. It's a quick screen. The block doesn't get there, but able to avoid the first tackler and get out of bounds was Santeri Juvonen.
Yeah, I think he got about 7 yards on that play. Not a bad play there on first down, and they didn't have to expend the timeout either.
You'll take that, getting out of bounds anyway. A few more of those, and you put yourselves in position for the potential Hail Mary. Jarman wants to throw it again, avoids the rush, flips over the middle, and Mack dropped it.
Ooh, yeah, a tough one too, because now it brings up 3rd and 3, and you know there's 35 seconds left on the clock now. So the Butchers also have all 3 of their timeouts left now. So if Kuopio doesn't get this, you can call a timeout if the clock is running and get the ball back.
And they'll hand it off to Mack here. Big hole up the middle. He runs over a defender and is out close to the 35-yard line, which will prompt a Kuopio timeout.
Yeah, remember the clock stops when they reset the sticks, but they indeed will call their second timeout. So the Steelers, with 1 left, have, by our count, 29 seconds to go with 1 timeout remaining. So they're going to need a huge chunk play, and then maybe with a chance to kick a field goal or hang one up high to end this half.
I'd be interested to see how far they'd attempt a field goal from. It's my inclination we probably won't see one with the amount of time left, but you never know.
Yeah.
And Kuopio, at the very least, has kept the ball away from Porvoo here.
And last week, the Steelers were without their normal kicker, Lero Pekarainen, who doubles as a defensive back. The kicker of record was Akseli Sirianen. And we know that Pekarainen's back this week, so we'll see if he's in a position to maybe kick one from 40, 45, 50 yards out. But that's still going to require Kuopio going about 30 yards here with 1 timeout left and only 29 seconds on the clock.
Jarman back in the gun. 4 receivers on the field for the Steelers. Big cushion from the Butchers. And Jarman is nearly picked off of the defensive line. Delmont Gordine had it hit off his hands, and he probably takes that one back for 6.
Yeah, well, Gordine is the sack specialist on this team, but, man, he almost had a pick 6 right there. I don't know if Jarman didn't pick him up or didn't expect, Gordine to kind of peel back on this play, but that play was doomed from the start.
And that's obviously a poor throw by Jarman, but I'm trying to get a look at it here on the replay. How far behind the line is Mack? He didn't get too far behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And he sat down there as Jarman rolls left here, throwing downfield and caught by Marshall. He is upended at the 50. Timeout Steelers.
Did they call a timeout, Joe?
I thought they did. I heard the whistle, but maybe that was only to stop it with the first down, and indeed they called it.
Yeah, they did. So that's their final timeout. It comes with unofficially 15 seconds left in this first half. But they're in a position now where you can at least take a couple of shots down the field. Let's see what they do here. But, yeah, this was a zip of a throw here, and what a catch that was made to move this ball up to the 50.
That throw had so much heat on it. The camera just made it there in time for Marshall to get upended. And as I said before, Dave, I thought it was unlikely we'd see a field goal attempt just given the amount of time that was left. If you can get out of bounds here after a nice gain, you may have a chance to kick.
Yeah.
But you would need a big chunk.
Yeah, it's about 15 yards, to get a 50-yarder off, a field goal. I don't know if you feel really comfortable
I don't think they'd try it.
Yeah.
I don't. I think they would instead throw one up to the end zone.
Yeah, I think that's what they do here twice. You have 15 seconds, so that's plenty of time to run 2 plays up and down the field. Of course, you're going to put your wide receivers out a little bit, but I think Porvoo may have called a timeout now. So they've backed up Kuopio's timeout with a Porvoo timeout. So we'll reflect that here. You can't take them with you, and Porvoo has all 3 of them left.
Well, if you're the Steelers, you will be kicking off to the Butchers to start the third quarter. I don't know if that changes how aggressively you play this in a one-score game, but it is something to keep in mind. Your defense has done some good things in this game, and I think if you told Kuopio that the Butchers would have 14 at the half, you'd probably take it.
Sure. Yeah, 14 in a very clean half, too, where they didn't turn the ball over. Porvoo did. They didn't really commit any penalties. It's just been a matter of clock management and the time, but 14 points, yeah, you'll take it any time you're playing this Porvoo team.
1st and 10 from midfield. Jarman, quick throw to Mack. Mack is stopped after a gain of just a yard, and they'll have to hurry to get one more play off. I don't think they will.
I don't think they will either. We have it down to inside 5 seconds, and that will do it. We were right on the money, Joe.
Well, our clock operator deserves a raise. We'll have to talk about that during the halftime break. But at halftime, it is the Porvoo Butchers 14 and the Kuopio Steelers 7. Dave, final thoughts before we head to break.
Well, final thoughts are essentially that this was a really good, clean half of football. We saw a couple of mistakes. The passing game really wasn't as crisp as we're used to seeing these 2 passing games function at, but still, no turnovers, no penalties, big defensive plays when the defense has been called into a big spot, and as a result, we have a one-score game again at the half, and a game between 2 very good teams usually sets us up for a very, very good second half, and I believe that's what we're in for here. 2 Titans going back and forth. It's been a good first 24 minutes, Joe, and both teams should feel like they're still within distance here to take a win in Porvoo.
We are certainly no strangers to one-score games at halftime, and I think you and I both know that usually means a lot of excitement is to come on the other side of the halftime break. But we have reached the half in Porvoo. Our score, the Butchers 14 and the Steelers 7. When we come back, the second half here on our PDF Game of the Week.
The PDF Sports Network is officially seeking sponsors for the 2026 Vaahteraliiga season. The Vaahteraliiga is the top professional American football league in Finland, and now, for the first time, is available in the English language and in the U.S., courtesy of PDF. Join us as we make history by showcasing the Maple League to a new worldwide audience. Our partnership with the Vaahteraliiga was recently featured in International Business Journal as a groundbreaking venture that in 2025 earned us a Global Recognition Award and a GHP Magazine Award for Best Local Live Broadcasting in the nation. It's time to bring our coverage to the next level and showcase your products and business to local and international audiences. Show your support now by calling us at 732-723-8189 or by emailing pdfsportsnet@gmail.com.
Burgers are better at the Brownstone in Metuchen.
My weekend starts with a brownstone burger, topped with cheddar, barbecue sauce, and a fried egg.
Give me the Hawaiian burger. I love the Canadian bacon and sweet pineapple.
How do you like your salads? Shrimp, chicken, beef?
Stop in and see why families are eating good at the Brownstone in Metuchen.
We'll meet you at the Brownstone.
We'll meet you at the Brownstone.
No, I'm right. The podcast that uncovers the origin stories of some of the biggest names in sports, media, and entertainment. Nick Durst here along with Joe Calv wanted to do a podcast. Everyone was like, what are you, crazy? Who's going to listen?
I am so happy that you asked me to do this. I couldn't have been more thrilled. And follow us on socials. Check us out. I promise you, if you want to work in media, come to us. And I promise you, we will get you on the right foot.
That's what it's all about, uncovering the origin stories of some of the biggest names in sports, media, and entertainment. Keep it locked on You Know I'm Right.
Refined, restorative, results-driven. At CMX iMed Bar, we blend medicine, aesthetics, and wellness into one luxury experience, led by Dr. Angela Roque. Located in the heart of Pier Village, Long Branch. Visit cmximedbar.com or text 9089232694 to look better, feel better, live elevated.
Attention, local businesses and professionals. Isn't it time to elevate your game? Now you can advertise your business or product on PDF Sports Network. Your ad will appear on all of our broadcasts, including this one. Don't have a commercial? We'll make one for you, absolutely free. What better way to showcase your product and brand while supporting the best local sports, teams, and leagues? Call now at 732-723-8189 or visit us at pdfsportsnet.com.
From Porvoo, Finland, where the Butchers have a 7-point lead over the visiting Kuopio Steelers at the start of the second half in a battle for the top seed in the Maple League during the regular season. Joe Foreman rejoining you alongside David Pizzuto. And Dave, it was an entertaining first half. We saw good things from both teams, but if you're the Butchers, you have to feel pretty good at home with a 7-point lead and receiving the second half kickoff.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, especially being at home and having played a really, pretty fine first half. I mean, they have really nothing to go into halftime feeling upset about, really. I mean, they played a really good first half defensively as well, and they had one real letdown of a play on defense, Joe, and that was that big play that went over top that gave Kuopio the first and goal, and of course Kuopio ended up scoring 3 plays later to make this a tie game again. And then if you're Porvoo, though, you feel good that you came back and grabbed the 7-point lead again and were able to hold it this time. So, a good first half. And then if you're Kuopio on the opposite side, you still feel pretty good about, you're still only down by a touchdown, by a score. You've played well enough. You've done a couple of, decent things offensively. Your defense hasn't played poorly. And you're still within distance here, especially if you're able to get a good stop here to start the third quarter.
I think if you're Kuopio and I'm looking at that first half, you could argue that the one play that really set them back was that 3rd and 1. If they pick up that first down instead of losing 14 yards, I think it may change the complexion of that first half entirely. So we'll see if their defense can set the tone to start the third quarter.
Yeah, true. And, even going back before that 3rd and 1 was that 2nd and 1 where, they went over top and they tried to get the home run and they really weren't close with it. And then 3rd and 1, maybe the whole stadium knew you were running the football at that point. So, again, obviously you don't hate the play calls, but at the same time, got to give credit where it's due. Porvoo's defense responded and they were able to take the lead. Now let's see, with getting the ball first in the 3rd, a chance to really punctuate this game. Let's see what they do.
There's a point I wanted to make about Porvoo's defense quickly after this play, and it may be a big one as Powell avoids one tackler and another. He's up the sideline, cutting inside, and he is across the 45-yard line. Christian Powell continues to amaze on the ground. He does it week in and week out every time we cover this Butchers team.
Yeah, it's a great run for him, but also if you're Kuopio, you got to do more than just throw your body at him. You can't just, lunge at his feet or his, that's a poor tackle right there. There's another one you try to wrap up, but, guys just kind of diving in his direction. That's not going to do it. You got to get arms on this guy.
And Powell this time surges forward for a short gain of 2, and against a runner who's not under control, throwing the body at him might work. Powell's not that kind of runner. But very quickly, Dave, the point I was going to make about the Porvoo defense, we've covered this team against all of the other playoff teams now. And that second game against St. Aoki, we had the plumbing issue that we joked about a couple of weeks ago, so we didn't finish that game. But this is the best performance and a half that I've seen from Porvoo's defense against a fellow playoff team all year.
Yeah, that's a good point. And, again, it was that one play where they got hit over top that really, kind of took them out of sorts a little bit. Other than that, they've been fine. They've been really, really fine in this first half. And again, I think playing with the lead also helps. Their offense has given them a lead twice now, so you're able to, you don't have to worry about making that huge mistake too. So that helps you defensively as well. And they've been on the sideline a lot. We haven't seen a lot of the Kuopio offense in this game. The Porvoo has had more time of possession, and, the more time this offense is out there, that's great for your defense.
This is a big 3rd and 3 here.
Yeah.
Isom wants to throw for it, looking left, and has a man wide open. It's Seppänen. Seppänen down near the 30, and just like that, the Butchers well beyond midfield and deeper into Steelers territory.
Well, one of the things we said in the pregame, Joe, about Kuopio is that they like to get you into obvious passing, situations because they can rush the quarterback. But this time, Isom had all day to throw. Look at that pocket. There's no white jerseys within 5 yards of Isom. He's able to survey. He's able to look past his first and second options. He sees Seppänen show towards him. That's an easy pitch and catch. You expect your quarterback to make that throw 90% of the time with that much time.
You roll of the motion man as they hand it off to Powell, and Powell is going to pick up 2 or 3 yards there.
Yeah, so just again, tough running left side of the line, and again, what you're trying to do is soften up that Steelers defense. Now they've been out for a little while out there on the field. 5-6 plays old now this drive is, and sooner or later you're going to start to see that Steelers defense with their hands on their hips and sucking air out there when you have runs like that.
Isom in the gun again. Powell flips it to Irola on the reverse. Isom leading the way. Irola gets the block from his quarterback and is taken down shortly thereafter.
Well, that's another different look and a different play coming out of this formation, and really well executed as well. We've seen teams try to run this, and they've been a little bit out of sync with it, but this is perfectly timed, and you could see Isom with a head of steam throwing that lead block out for Irola, who looked to dip in towards the hash marks and kind of lost his footing, but still on the outskirts of the 10 now.
We talked about it last week. This Steelers defense right up there in terms of yards allowed per game, as that's going to draw a flag, no question about it. And this is going to set up half the distance to the goal here. You could hear what the spectators thought of that call.
Yeah,
not appreciative.
Like
and this game is being played in Porvoo.
Yeah,
we're on the Steelers sideline.
It's a heavy amount of hand jockeying there, so I don't disagree with that call. But you're right, Joe. It's a half the distance call, so they're going to set up probably around the 6-yard line here, I would guess. is where this ball will be spotted, and it'll be first down and goal.
Yeah, if 3 officials throw the flag, I think it's a pretty safe bet they got it right. But, you know, when the camera arrives a bit late, sometimes you don't see the full context of the play, and it's easy to miss something. My instinct is that it was the right call.
Because it's a 15-yard penalty. They're at the 2-yard line, not the 6. High snap.
Keeps it, and he's just short.
Yeah, only got a yard, and that was a poor snap there. Isom did well to kind of reach across his body and, you know, settle that after the high snap.
That's going to bring up second and goal. But if you're the Butchers, you feel like this is a touchdown. You're going to have 3 downs to get it from the 1, barring a penalty. And this Steelers defense now, with their backs up against the wall and seemingly in an impossible spot. Isom wants to throw here, and he has a man wide open, but sails it over his head.
Yeah, way over his head. You think maybe Isom was a little bit uncomfortable getting rid of this ball because Kaye had a great break at the back of the end zone, and that is just way too much loft on the ball there. And perhaps with a little bit of traffic developing underneath, Isom just airmailed this one.
The play was there to be made, so you can't really fault the play call, but I'm shocked they threw it, Dave. They're inside the 1.
Same.
Isom in the gun, flanked by Powell. And he wants to throw again. Time running out. He does not sense the pressure, and he is sacked.
Yeah,
Baffling.
Joe, I think, and I think, you know, the pause in me speaking is because I can't find the words when
I can't fathom it, Dave.
When you have Christian Powell and Donovan Isom in your backfield at the 1-yard line for 3 straight plays, you know, and you have to settle for a field goal now. I don't know. It just, to me, it's again about not knowing your identity. Your identity is a running football team. You have the best running back in Maple League history, and you have to opt for 3 instead.
And the kick is no good.
Wow.
What a turn of events. And, you know, Dave, I'm not one to restrain my words often, and I have no choice but to do so right here. I cannot fathom why they threw it twice in a row. I can't.
Yeah, and
I can't. It's hard to question a team that went unbeaten last year and won the Maple Bowl. But at times this year, when they've looked beatable, it's been some head scratchers.
Yeah.
And the biggest one for me is that first down they needed at the end of the game against the Roosters. The run that they attempted to pick it up with outside the tackles, I couldn't believe it. And
yeah, and it goes back.
Again.
It goes back to what is your identity? Like, who are you? Like, what kind of a team are you? You know, and I think when you have a pass interference call that puts the ball first and goal at the 2-yard line, and you can't punch it in when you have the league's best running back, and you never gave him the ball. You know, first and goal from the 2, and Christian Powell did not get a touch. To me, that's running contrary to who you are as a football team. And again, I don't know if it's because they're trying to get cute with who they are, or they're trying to mix it up, or they're trying to keep defense on their toes, but you know, it's a head scratcher. It's a head scratcher. You have to go with what got you here. And what's gotten them here is Christian Powell. And the fact that he didn't get a touch, first and goal from the 2 on 4 downs, to me, that's a head scratcher.
It's a handoff to Mack here on second down, and he'll get a yard or 2. But last thing I'll say about the drive, I mentioned it following the second down play call. It's hard to fault the second down play call because the look was there. Your quarterback just didn't execute it. So I think that play I'm okay with.
Right.
To throw it again, I think is where I really have to say, you know, you need to give Powell a chance.
Yeah.
Because on 4th down, I guess you would assume you're going to hand it to him, but that's assuming you get a 4th down, and they didn't because of the play call.
Right. No choice but to try and kick it.
Yeah, and then they missed the kick on top of it. As Jarman will keep here, breaking a tackle, spinning off a hit, and he picks up the first down.
Yeah, and that's the first designed carry for Jarman in this game, and he has the ability to do this. He's a good he actually runs a pretty good ball fake on these options here. And he, too, can lower the shoulder and get himself a couple extra yards, as witnessed right there. So made sure he got the first. Nice job by Slade.
That's the kind of play that can turn a game around for a team. Your quarterback breaking a tackle, spinning away from another hit, and then your receiver gets absolutely drilled on the very next play. Simon Otto with a big-time hit on the outside, and slow to get up on the play is Karkanen.
Yeah, and they're going to call an official timeout to get Karkanen some attention, but we're going to get a chance to see it here in extra slow-mo, and that's exactly what you said, a drilling right there. That's the one that kind of makes your ears pop after you get hit like that, and it went for a loss of about a half yard or so didn't work out, and Steelers will be down a pretty big target here, as Karkanen has really come up strong these last couple of weeks that we've seen him, really for the first time with the Steelers this year.
Well, you asked before who the Butchers are, and I think to balance out our criticism of the last drive, right now they are the team that is leading on the scoreboard, and their defense has repeatedly been in positions to get off the field. Many times they have. And if they can set up a 3rd and long here, the way they've played in this game, you have to feel confident they can put that last drive for the offense in the rearview mirror, give them the ball back with a chance to go ahead by 2 possessions. A lot hinges on this 2nd down because the Steelers in 3rd and long haven't been great in this game.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, I think the defense deserves a lot of credit because this is a Steelers offense that has also found a fair degree of rhythm these past couple of weeks. I know they hit a snag, last week against St. Aoki, especially in the first half. They didn't really look all that crisp. But, they too have been pretty much humming, and they do a lot of good things well. They do a lot of, they run the ball well. They have a good peripheral passing game. They work well in the middle of the field. We just saw Slade Jarman run the football. He's done well in that respect. But really, the Steelers, are, again, because they've been held in 3rd and long, the Butchers have done a really nice job against them in this game. They would love to have been up 21-7 in this position, obviously, maybe even with more confidence. But I think part of it too, Joe, is that they haven't played a lot. They've been on the sideline a lot, and I think that helps your defense as well when they're rested. And, they have a pretty big break here between 1st and 2nd down as well.
I think I should know better based on what we've seen this year, but I'll say it anyway. I think if any team in this game were to go up 2 scores, that would be the end of this game. I just don't see the dynamic playmaking from either offense to make up a 2-score deficit. As Mack now with a big play, racing up the sideline, is hit a bit late, and we'll see here, no flag. How's that for a dynamic play?
Yeah, pretty dynamic, especially in this kind of tight bunch formation here. You expect something perhaps between the tackles, but instead it's, again, the kind of an option play here with the, tight end kind of getting outside and getting that lead block going. Nice, well-executed play by the Steelers, and just like that, they're on Porvoo's side of the field.
Momentum of this game shifts completely with that last carry. It's a handoff for Mack once again, looking for room. He bounces it toward the far side. He has blocking ahead of him. Mack, stutter step, flag out, and he's still going. Juking back inside, dealing a stiff arm, and finally he's wrestled down at the 25. We'll see if this play stands.
Yeah, now the flag was thrown well into Mack's run up the field. So if this is a holding or a block in the back or something like that on the Steelers, and it will be on the Steelers, we'll have to see where they back it up till, and it wipes out a pretty good run for Mack.
Well, that hurts if you're Kuopio, and we said it before, Dave, most penalized team in the league among the playoff teams, and it's certainly been some untimely penalties that have set them back in this game.
Yeah, true, and this will be a 1st and 5 actually after the penalty. So, yeah, it's true. It does wipe away, but one thing that you said last week, Joe, was that Mack is averaging over 7 yards a carry this season, at least going into that St. Aoki game, and I think that this, too, has been their calling card, a good, strong running game.
Jarman throwing downfield. Incomplete. No flags.
No, and they were locked up there. Kuopio was with, I believe it was Pilspainen. Not quite sure, but either way, good coverage down the field. And again, on 1st and short, the Steelers looking to take the top off that defense again. They've had this Porvoo team scouted and know that they're susceptible to the big play. We mentioned it during pregame. They took a shot there. Let's see what they go back to here on 2nd and 5.
It's a handoff to Mack. Mack can't find any room. He's being driven backwards as his line was pushing forwards. Mack was nowhere near that pile.
Yeah.
Instead, he did not get back to the line of scrimmage.
Well, I think he did. Yeah, I think they're going to mark him at the 40.
They're going to give him that forward progress.
Yeah.
I don't know how he ended up back there. I thought he was in the pile of offensive linemen.
So did I. I thought he was being pushed forward.
So did I, and he ended up behind the line of scrimmage.
Right. There was 2 different scrums going on at the same time. But it's going to be 3rd down and 3 here. So it's a big play again, because if you're Kuopio, you're down by 7. You'd like to think this is 4-down territory, but who knows here.
I mentioned 3rd and long hasn't been kind to this team. 3rd and short hasn't been kind to them either. It's been 3rd down all game. Jarman airing it out here, and this time Kuopio makes the catch.
Wow, and it's not the worst coverage either by Capo Vuha. And instead, just a nice grab by Kuopio. Sure hands there near the sideline.
And I said it earlier in the season, Dave. These defensive backs for Porvoo have been susceptible to the back shoulder all season.
Yeah, it's true. And, I'm picking it up late here, but, it's a good throw, too. I mean, it's a great throw. In a place, it's in a place where Vuha really can't make the play.
Jarman looking to his right this time, throwing toward the end zone and well beyond. Isaac Marshall incomplete.
Yeah, it looked like Jarman thought the better of that and said, I'm just going to sail this one out of here, because really there was no options on that play. I'm surprised Jarman hasn't run it more, to be honest, Joe, just to keep that, in the back pocket of this offense. But they have definitely wielded it down the field, that's for sure.
I don't think either of these teams is shy about throwing the ball down the field at this point in the season. It's how well they've executed those throws downfield. It's a handoff to Mack, and Mack is going to be taken down. He was probing and could not find room.
Might be a short loss on the play, or if anything got back to the line of scrimmage, but that's all. But you mentioned 3rd and long. Here comes another one for the Steelers. This will be 3rd and 10 or 11. I believe it's just outside the original line of scrimmage. So big play here. Steelers down by a touchdown.
Would they go on 4th without a significant pickup here?
I think they would. I think they would here.
I'm inclined to agree. Trips to the right. They motion Mack out to the left. He is the only receiver on that side. Jarman is looking that way and throwing. Incomplete, and a flag comes out. And I think there was a hold when that ball was in flight. And Dave, it was completely unnecessary. That ball was way overthrown.
Agreed. And I don't think Mack had any chance to catch this football, but because there were hands on him, it's going to be an automatic 1st down.
Now, did they call PI or holding?
They called PI.
That is a bad penalty if you're Porvoo. And we said it all game, Dave. They've avoided those penalties for the first 2 quarters plus. That's a bad one.
Yeah, but they're going to move this all the way up to the 5-yard line, so a true 15 yards here, and it's going to be 1st down and goal, and that came on a 3rd and long. That would have set up a 4th down and 10.
And it's a handoff to Mack here on 1st and goal. And he's driven backwards. May have crossed the line of scrimmage initially. I don't know if you caught it, Dave, under 2 minutes to go in the 3rd.
Oh, yeah, no, I did not catch it. But I tell you this, though, I don't like that call at all. I mean, and it wasn't even just because the pass was uncatchable. I just didn't think there was enough contact there to warrant pass interference. I really don't. But Porvoo, I think, got victimized.
I think there may have been holding. I thought he grabbed the jersey and gave it a good pull. But I don't know if that rose to the level of pass interference. I don't know if the ball was in flight yet. But I guess if I saw it, it probably was, as Jarman will keep. Jarman looking for room, and he is upended around the 5-yard line. That is a good play there by Littlejohn.
Yeah, it was. He went low, forces Jarman to go high and try to have to somersault over the defenseman, but there's really nothing going on there, so it's going to be 3rd and goal from the 6 still. And this is another big 3rd down play, because if you're the Steelers and don't get this here, you have a real big decision to make. We'll see what they do.
I'm very curious to see if they don't get this, whether or not they would choose to go for it from the 6. Jarman in the gun. Fakes the handoff, looking left, throwing that way, incomplete. And they had the look they wanted. Jarman could not connect.
Yeah, it's a tough, it's a tough throw. It's a hot shot, and you'd like to think your receiver can come down with it, but he's really going to have to stick this throw. Rantalan-Kila was the intended receiver, and they are going to look to kick here. We'll get you the replay real quick before Pekarainen's attempt.
We haven't said Rantalan-Kila's name yet, as the kick is up and good to make it a 4-point game. And I'm not surprised they kicked it there. I think 6 yards is tough, but Dave, remember earlier in the game when Porvoo was on offense, I said there's a handful of plays per game that you have to have for Kuopio. That was one of them. That throw was wide open.
Yeah, it was wide open, and that catch probably should have been made. Looking at it, that's a play that needs to be made, and that should have been a touchdown. But I think Kuopio did right by kicking there, Joe, because, look, they got really fortunate on the last 3rd down where they got the pass interference call that set them up at the 6. And then in 3 plays, they did not gain a single yard at the 6-yard line. So at that point, as a coach, I'm going to cut my losses there. I'm going to take the 3 points, and I'm going to make it so that I'm still down by a touchdown. I'm still down by 1 score, but if I do score that touchdown, at least now I'll have the lead, and it won't come down to an extra point attempt either. So it still puts a lot of pressure on your defense to hold Porvoo where they are, but I like the decision to go for 3, and obviously I love the fact that Pekarainen knocked it down.
Steelers will send it deep here. And again, that will land beyond the end zone.
Yeah, Pekarainen's kicking some bombs out there.
He sure is, and I think when you have a kicker with that kind of leg who has been generally a very reliable kicker this year, you're more inclined to take the field goal opportunities when they come, because you know that late in the game, if it does come down to a field goal, you'll be able to kick. I think when you're not sure about that, you're more inclined to go for the touchdown.
Sure, yeah, 100%. And we said this game might come down to the kicking game as well, and Porvoo misses a field goal on their turn of the 3rd, and Kuopio makes one on their turn. So big swing right there.
Do you know something I don't, Dave?
I don't. I don't, actually.
It's a 1st down run, and it goes for a gain of close to 5 yards. So Porvoo, on their last drive, got down to the 2 and failed to score following a run by Isom on 1st down and a pair of throws on 2nd and 3rd. The 2nd throw attempt resulted in a sack. The Steelers respond with 3. And that is nearly the entirety of the 3rd quarter. We're at the end of 3 in Porvoo. It's the Butchers 14 and the Steelers 10 as the 2 teams will switch sides. Dave, what does Porvoo need to do to close this game out? And what can the Steelers do to get back in front?
Well, I think what Porvoo needs to do is really they need to complete the drive, right? I mean, you mentioned it. They got to the 2-yard line and have a 0 to show for it, in this half. So they need to get points on this drive or the next one and continue to do what they're doing defensively. I think that they've hit a nice groove there. And for the Steelers, again, I think the penalty has hurt them. I think on that last drive it actually helped them. It gave them an extra set of downs inside the goal line. Again, I don't think they're necessarily doing anything wrong in this game. Porvoo's defense has just been that good. Maybe, less going for the home run and still checking down and going for those 5- and 6-yard gains. To me, the Steelers haven't done enough of that in this game. And I would kind of key on that. Now only down by 4 points. Just keep moving the chains, 10 yards at a time, and eventually get that score, take the lead, and win this game.
When the fourth quarter begins, it will be 2nd and 5 for the Porvoo Butchers, and they will re-huddle here. They were lined up and ready to go, and instead we'll talk it over a bit more. But I think if you're Kuopio, you have to feel great that you got that stop, because if you didn't get that stop at the goal line, you're probably trailing in this game 21-10.
Right.
And that puts you in a really tough spot entering this fourth quarter, trailing by 2 scores with Porvoo in possession of the football. And I think if you're trailing 21-7, you probably go for it there rather than kicking. Mm-hmm. I'm not certain they would have, but I definitely would have given it some thought. And now you can just play your game if you're the Steelers. There's no need to panic. And if you're the Butchers, do what got you to the goal line and finish the drive, just like you said, Dave. It's a throw down field, and it's incomplete. Irola had a step or two, and it was just beyond his reach.
The question is, was that sailing out of bounds? Would that catch have been made inbounds? We're going to take another look at it here, but they went on a 2nd and short for the home run, much like the Steelers have been doing all game, and it came up empty there. Irola did have the step. That would have been tough.
Yeah, that ball didn't really have much air on it. That was a rope from Isom, and I think the separation that Irola had definitely lent itself toward him having an opportunity. Isom in big trouble here, flips it to Powell. And Powell will get back to within a yard of the line of scrimmage. Isom very nearly got taken down, was able to keep his footing, and somehow found Powell.
Yeah, somehow found him. Unfortunately, Powell just wasn't in a really good position to kind of look up the field and have a lot of open room ahead of him. In fact, it went for a loss of 1 on the play. But, Powell has not really been used in the passing game much this season, not like he was last year when Christian Arambidi was the quarterback here in Porvoo. But that time, good job by the Steelers defensively.
That punt will skip well beyond the 30. It landed shy of the 30 and took a good Butcher's bounce close to the 20-yard line. But Dave, once again, 2nd and 5 or less. It has been a nightmare for these two teams in this game.
Yeah, and I think it's been a product of the play calling. Not that it's been bad play calling, but that plays have not really been executed, and they really haven't taken the other team by surprise. And so they haven't really been able to convert. But, maybe there's something to be said for staying conservative. Hey, you got a 2nd and 2, just run the ball, and if you don't get it, run it again, instead of, going over top for some of these things. So, yeah, maybe conservative is the way to go from here on in.
It's a handoff to Mack on 1st down in a big hole. A good block upfield and a foot race. Mack up the sideline, 1 man to beat, and Little John will not catch him. It's a big 79-yard touchdown for Joshua Mack.
Wow, and you mentioned the speed, Joe, once he got into the 2nd layer, and wow, he turned on the afterburners and won the foot race. And, for all the great things that Mack has done this season, these last couple of weeks, it's been tough for him to get uncorked, especially early in drives. But how's this? A 1-play touchdown drive, and the Steelers, on back-to-back plays by their offense, have scored 10 points and have taken back the lead.
And this is just a typical delayed handoff to Mack out of the gun. He got a great block upfield. The offensive line wins at the line of scrimmage. And just like that, Porvoo is trailing for the first time in this game. And Dave, it's easy to say now, hindsight is 20/20, and nobody likes a Monday morning quarterback. But it almost, I just can't understand their reluctance to hand the ball off.
Yeah,
early in the game, they were willing to give it to Powell 3 straight plays. I'm not sure he's had consecutive carries since.
Very true. Very true. I was just thinking about that. And, yeah, I think it was probably midway through the 2nd quarter the last time we saw Powell touch the ball, twice in a row. running the football. And, conversely, we talked in the pregame about, we're not used to seeing the Butchers giving up, 30, 40, 50-yard plays. Well, there's another one. They gave up one earlier in the game. That was on the pass catch that took them first and goal to the Steelers. That was about a 40-yard play, a 45-yard play. And now this one goes for 79. 2 huge offensive plays for Kuopio. And you can make the case that those 2 plays are really what have catapulted this team's 14 points in this game, or both their touchdowns. And just like that, they're down by a field goal now for the first time in the game.
Irola with a head of steam there. He got a quick burst off of receiving that kick, but the Steelers do well to keep him from crossing the 30-yard line, and Porvoo will get started just shy of their own 30 on this drive, now trailing for the first time. And Dave, it happened in just a blink.
Yeah, and it's pretty typical of these 2 teams and the kind of games that we've seen against them too. I mean, we've seen them go back and forth and trade leads. Even the game that we covered last year as well, 42-37 was the final of that one, won by the Butchers.
It's a first down run for Powell. And it's a short gain there. Pickup of about 3.
Yeah, it's almost like Porvoo struggles, Joe, with being boring. You know what I mean? It's almost like they can't stand these 4-yard gains, right? Because this is perfect. It's a perfect first down. You got a 4-yard gain on first down, second and short, but it's almost like they don't want to be this grinded out team or boring team, offensively.
Isom will keep this time, and he finds some room, picks up a first down, and barely held on to the football.
Yeah, I saw that. Kind of juggled it right at the end of that run. But what he can do on the ground with his legs, I mean, we've seen it time and again. Such a dynamic runner with the football in his hands. And we haven't seen it a lot in this game. It's almost been done by almost necessity. But there's a good play design, good play call, specifically for Isom, and he turns it into a big game.
First down, Butchers at the 45. Isom wants to throw it. And he airs it out, downfield, complete. Seppinen between 2 Steelers up the sideline. And just like that, it may be goal to go or just outside of it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Isom has not really been strong today with some of these deep throws being on the money with them, but this one was perfect down the sideline. Meets Seppinen in stride, is able to catch that and continue his route. And we have to get you back to live action here, but that's a well-executed play, probably Isom's best throw of the evening as well.
And with that football having such a little amount of air on it, it's hard to find it on the way down. High snap, pitch back to Powell, and he breaks a tackle and takes a big hit at the end of that run.
Yeah, and I at first had this ball spotted inside the 10. They spotted it outside the 10, but still, this was a good gain here of about 4 yards when it looked like he was going to be held behind the line of scrimmage.
So they did not get inside the 10. They finished that big completion out of bounds near the 12.
Yeah.
Powell now motioned to the left of Isom, trips to that side, and he'll go the other way with it, and that one is swatted away in the end zone.
That's great coverage that time, and a really good defensive play by Pekarainen, the kicker as well, and kickoff specialist, plays defensive back, but he was right in Emmanuel Coffey's hip pocket and was able to put that arm up with that, back shoulder throw that we've seen so often from both of these teams at times.
Looked like the Butchers were petitioning for a flag. They did not get it. And now they're going to line up with a bunch tight to the line of scrimmage here on a 3rd down and 6. Isom looking, throwing, intercepted! It's picked off in the end zone! And the Steelers will take possession back. I thought maybe that ball came out at the end.
Same.
But Suryanen with the INT gives it right back to Kuopio.
Wow. So, you know what? We talked about this being a clean game, right? No turnovers. Well, there's another one. And that time, it certainly takes points off the board because whether they went for it on 4th down or chose to kick a field goal, you'd like to think that Porvoo should have had points here on this drive. Instead, another series, Joe, where they have the ball inside Kuopio's 10-yard line and come out of it with no points. 1st and 10, Kuopio the other way.
Handoff, Mack. And he will fight forward before being stopped after a gain of 4 or 5 yards.
Official timeout here for an injury, but yeah, that's a kick in the gut right there for Porvoo. I mean, you are down once again. First time was at the 2-yard line. This drive ends at the 6 before the turnover, and they are stuck at 14 here since halftime.
Yeah, I think the level of concern for Porvoo just went from about a 6 to maybe an 8 or a 9.
Yeah.
On that scale of 1 to 10. I think when you struggled to punch it in down around the goal line, especially in the second half, that is very, very concerning.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think, for Porvoo defensively, I almost say to myself, at least the saving grace is like, look, we've been burned on really one big play, that 79-yard touchdown run, because we've been good. We've been really good defensively. We just gave up one huge running play, and we gave up one huge passing play in this game that set Kuopio up 1st and goal. Other than that, our defense has been good, but it's almost like a ticking time bomb. You just never know when that huge play is going to come again. But defensively, I feel confident enough. But now offensively, you're starting to leave points on the field. You just committed your first turnover. It's starting to get a little hairy out there for your offense. And now, early in the 3rd quarter, you had a chance to go up by 2 scores on that first drive where you got held up at the 2-yard line. You should feel like you should be up 21-7 in this game. Now, on a drive like this, you might be down by 2 scores after this drive if you're not careful. So, yeah, there is plenty of reason to panic here if you're Porvoo.
Yeah, I think what happens on the next couple of plays is going to dictate how much panic begins to set in. It's still just a 3-point game, and now you have what has been all game long an unenviable situation. It was 2nd and 5. They handed off. They didn't get much. I think it's going to be 3rd and 5 here. And this is a spot where these offenses haven't had much luck. As soon as I mentioned it before, they were able to break through and pick up a 1st down.
Yeah, they actually got a pretty decent spot on that play. So it's about a 3rd and 1, Joe, and it's all said and done.
Really?
So, yeah.
Wow.
I'm with you. I didn't think he got that at all.
Nearly that much.
Right.
You'll take that. If you're Kuopio, what will they do here? It's a handoff, and Mack fighting forward got just enough.
Yeah, second effort for sure. But that's what I mean. Porvoo has done well, against Mack in this game. And really, aside from that one run, he's had a couple of 5- and 6-yard gains here and there. But that last run was like an anomaly in this game. But they've done a pretty good job wrapping him up. But that time, Kuopio on 3rd and 1, they got 2. And like you said, they've been hairy on those 3 and 1s. They managed to extend the drive there, get it out, at least from out of their own 10-yard line.
1st and 10, Kuopio. And the handoff goes to Mack again. Mack looking for room, finds a seam, and picks up about 7 or 8 yards.
Yeah, it's a good run. Again, keeping the feet moving.
The Steelers are doing exactly what the Butchers have refused to do.
Sure. Absolutely. And I think now with the lead, you start to think about the clock too. You're like, these are 12-minute quarters here. Yes, the clock is supposed to stop every 1st down, but it's a chance for us to milk it here. Every 4 downs, you can conceivably rip off 2.5 minutes off the clock if you're crafty about it.
Well, I think looking at this drive from the perspective of time, if this ends up being a scoring drive, the Butchers may get one more chance.
Right.
Because they have a long way to go, and right now the Steelers are asserting their will on the ground.
Yeah, and they might have gotten another 1st down here. We'll see where they spot this one. Sure looked like he got enough, and yeah, they are going to move the sticks. And they're taking their time. We've seen the Steelers and the Butchers, pretty much all season just get right back to the line of scrimmage, run a play, run fast, not allow us to show replays. Well, not the case here. You could see they're being very deliberate about huddling up, taking the play clock all the way down inside of 5 seconds here. There is no rush when you're up by when you're up by 3.
Even if you don't score here, it takes a touchdown to beat you. As they'll hand off to Mack, and this time the Butchers are having none of it. And a flag comes out at the end of the play.
And the way the Butchers are being demonstrative here, it might be against them for maybe excessive after the whistle antics there, but we'll see.
Well, if this goes against Porvoo, this could be a backbreaker.
Yeah, because you're down on the scoreboard. The last thing you want to do is take a dumb penalty on a play that you've held your opponent to negative yardage, but they are discussing it here.
The official's still talking it over.
Kuopio thinks it's against the Butchers. After the play. Yeah, personal foul.
And those are the kinds of penalties you can't take.
Yeah. We just talked about how clean of a game, too, Porvoo has played. Especially at halftime, we mentioned that. They didn't have a turnover. Now they have one in the game. They didn't have really any penalties of note. Now they just have a big one on a play where they got a 1-yard loss. They give up 15 yards, and Kuopio, which started this drive at their own 6 or 7 yard line, are now already up to their own 43.
It's a handoff to Mack once again, and you can see the Butchers understand they cannot allow the Steelers to continue handing this ball off for positive yardage.
Yeah, and they do know that Kuopio wants to run the football because they want to,
Did they call? I thought they called timeout. This injury.
Yeah, official timeout. As coming up was Thomas Tavili late, but he's working his way back into the huddle. But yeah, this drive is they're milking it a little bit. They have to wind the clock back up here, unless they're being forced to call a timeout. Not quite sure.
Yeah, the Steelers appear to be headed for their sideline, but stopped about halfway there at the hash.
Tavili was the one who got up slow and forced the official timeout, but he has stayed in the game. You could see he's at the 35-yard line, so he's staying in the game, and that's the reason why the Steelers are calling timeout.
Yeah, they're taking timeout to allow him back in.
Right.
And in a situation where you're looking to hand the ball off and take some clock with you, I think that's probably the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the Butchers here, I think you know very clearly what the Steelers are looking to do. And I almost think that handing the ball off every play, if you're Kuopio, does play into the strength of this defense for Porvoo. They're a bit better up front than they've been in the secondary. A lot of the big plays have been against the secondary, and that interception by Littlejohn was a big play at the time and one that really has gone contrary to what we've seen from this secondary for much of the year. They haven't had much success stopping those big plays down the field.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's been the case. And, I think on a play like this, you see a 2nd down and 9, you're thinking, okay, this has the potential to be one of those big plays down the field. But with playing with the lead now and with the clock in your pocket, you're wondering if they're going to run this ball again. Will Kuopio, just to kind of manage
Watch
the clock.
For the play action, Dave. It's coming at some point on this drive. And Jarman will keep it here. The Butcher is wise to it, but Jarman dives forward for a gain of a couple.
Yeah, so it's still going to be a 3rd and long now. Again, the clock continues to move, but now if you're the Steelers, you have a really big decision. Obviously, I think you have to try and get the 1st down here instead of just running the football and, 3 yards in a cloud of dust here and then punt the ball away. You want to try to keep this ball in your hands and not give it up to Porvoo at all. But this is going to be an interesting call here.
I'm also curious to know whether or not they've taken enough clock with them to limit the Butchers to one more possession.
Yeah.
That I'm not sure of. Jarman in the gun. He will fake the handoff. Good protection, throwing downfield. And a flag comes in.
Ask and you shall receive is really all I could say. I mean, that flag came 5 or 6 seconds after the play was over.
Yeah, Rantan Lakila was the intended receiver. And the officials are going to talk it over. Will they pick it up?
We're getting another look at it. At least the fans are at home, and it's hard to pick it up late. Yep.
4th down for Kuopio, and they will be forced to punt.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, it also stops the clock, too. And, you know, you wonder how in the heads it is of the Steelers, too, where, remember, the last time these two teams met, the Steelers, they weren't up by 3. They were up by 14 with 3 minutes left in the game, and they lost. So, you know, you can't be too conservative either with the clock. I mean, you have to really win this game, not lose it.
I think they generally did the right thing there. I liked the attempt at deception with the run by Jarman. I would have preferred a play-action pass, as this kick lands around the 35 and takes a good bounce for Kuopio down to the 26-yard line. But I like that play call. I like the idea. Get away from just handing the ball off. It didn't feel like that throw on third had much of a chance, but they did have the one-on-one coverage. And they did not go to one of their top targets. And that's the second time on a big play where Rantan Lakila was the intended receiver in a big situation, once on the goal line and there again on 3rd and long.
Yeah, absolutely true. But here we go. Porvoo with the ball back. We'll see what they can do here.
It's a handoff to Powell. And a pickup of close to 5 yards on the play. There it is again, Dave. It's not flashy, but it's effective.
No, it's effective. You do that on every play, you're going to be down the field. You know, within 7 or 8 plays, you're going to be 40 yards down the field. So you have to be committed to it. And again, you have to be deliberate, and you have to insist on it. And we'll see if they insist on it here.
They'll spread it out. Powell in the backfield alongside ISO and 4 receivers. And they will hand off to Powell again. Big hole. He bounces outside, cuts upfield, is still going. And Christian Powell has been unleashed. He's down close to midfield.
Yeah, free Christian Powell, right? There should be signs in the crowd that say that, you know. And again, you know, this young man, you know, he puts a lot of work in, and you don't want to tire him out too much, you know, especially with the playoffs coming out. You don't want to risk injury. But, yeah, when you have a back like this, man, you got to use him. You got to use him, especially when you're down by 3 in the 4th quarter.
Right back to the shotgun. 4 receivers on the field. Once again, they hand off to Powell. He's up the middle. He has a first down, and he is tackled just shy of the Steelers' 35-yard line.
Yeah, another good bit of running there. Just follow your blocks, you know, your front 5, you know, they're getting some push now. You know, really nobody in the backfield there, at least trailing behind Powell. But, yeah, he's able to hit the hole with some pace, and another first down. Back-to-back first downs for Christian Powell on consecutive runs.
And, Dave, this is what you and I have been waiting for the better part of 2 quarters.
Yeah.
1st and 10, Butchers. And it's Powell again. He breaks a tackle and spins off another to pick up close to 5 as a flag comes in from the secondary.
All right, so we'll hold everything right now, and we'll say another injury timeout, too, on the field as well. So clock is stopped for the penalty and the injury. And we'll see what the official call is. It was called from the defensive backfield. It'll be a personal foul, face mask on Kuopio. So add 15 yards to the run. It ends up being a 20-yard gain instead of just a 5-yard gain. And Porvoo, Joe, in basically just a small handful of plays and, maybe a minute and a half or all the way down just outside the 15-yard line.
And I don't think it's any mystery what all of those plays had in common.
Yes. First name Christian, last name Powell.
Yeah, I think not running it more earlier in this game is the reason they're in this position right now. And if you're willing to do it now, I'm curious why they didn't prefer to do it earlier. Because this game could have been well in hand at this point if they were willing to give them the ball a bit more.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what I said earlier, too, is that Porvoo almost seems like they just don't want to be that team. You know, they just don't want to be that, like, and again, I hate to use the word boring because it's not the really word I want to use.
Well,
it's like
if you go unbeaten and win the Maple Bowl, I don't think it matters how you do it.
Right. But, you know, it's funny, too, because last year during the Maple Bowl, they played Seinäjoki, and you and I both said going into that game that we expected to see a strong dose of Christian Powell. And then Christian Arambidi, the quarterback, threw 6 touchdowns and won the MVP. And, you know, I don't know what was it, 55-10 or something like that.
Yeah, it was not close.
Yeah, and so
I don't think we're going to see a Maple Bowl like that again this year, regardless of who makes it.
Right.
I'd be shocked.
But again, even last year we said, you know, Christian Powell's got to be the guy, and he wasn't really, at least in the championship game. But it's almost like this Porvoo team just doesn't, wants to be flashy, wants to do different things. They don't want to be one-dimensional. And, you know, when you have the horses that they do, you understand it, right? Because they can beat you in other ways. But Christian Powell is the way, I think, to solve good teams. And Steelers are one of those good teams. But listen, all that being said, this is a huge timeout here for the injury. And it's a chance for everybody on the field to reset. And the Steelers are still ahead here. They're up by 3. And the last 2 times, Porvoo has been down this deep, we've seen a missed field goal after some real dubious calls inside the 5, and then we saw an interception thrown by Isom in the end zone. So Porvoo still has to prove to us, Joe, you and I, that they could score here in this second half with the ball in favorable field position.
And I think if you're the Butchers and you don't win this game, it would truly be a wasted performance for your defense. A defense that, as I mentioned during the pregame, it's been trending in a very positive direction since their 3-2 start. Now, granted, they've played a couple of non-playoff opponents in that stretch. They played Seinäjoki in a game that was played under torrential rain, very wet and slippery conditions. So that certainly plays a role in those defensive numbers improving. But I think that in this game, at the very least, this team has shown you that their upward trajectory on the defensive side of the ball is not a fluke. They made a big play in the secondary. They've held the Steelers to just 17 points, and I think given what we've seen from this Kuopio offense, that's pretty darn good. I know that when you look at this team and the numbers they've given up in terms of points allowed this season, far from ideal, but they can get to the quarterback as good as any team, and they've done a lot of really good things in this game. And, Dave, I think they're calling the teams off the field. So perhaps you and I will step aside and take a break, and we'll come back on the other side of this injury timeout, as it looks like we may be in for a lengthy delay here.
We might, Joe. We might. Let's stay here for just 1 second, Joe, because I want to put a graphic up on the screen. You and our good friend Joe Calabrese will have a very special broadcast coming up tomorrow morning. In fact, a little over 12 hours from now. Tell us a little bit about what's on tap tomorrow.
Well, we have the IFAF Women's European Championship game between Finland and Germany. You and I did cover some IFAF football. That was, I believe, back in April, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Don't quote me on that. It was earlier this year. We covered 19U men's football, and we did mention that some players on that team very well could end up in the Maple League. Some may have even been in the Maple League already. We cover the women's side tomorrow morning. 2-time champion Finland takes on former bronze medal team Germany. That's coming up tomorrow morning here on the PDF Sports Network. The game begins at 11 a.m. We expect to go live at some point between 10:45 and 11:15. We'll have to see exactly when kickoff occurs. Once kickoff occurs, we go live with pregame. We'll be on about a 10 or 15-minute delay, covering that game close to live here in the United States.
Awesome. Can't wait to tune in for that one and listen to you and Joe call that one a history-making day for us. It's our first European women's football game that we are covering, and it just so happens to be for the European Championship, a tournament that's held every couple of years now. It was every 4 years. Now they're doing it every 2 years, and we have the 2-minute warning here, Joe. How about that?
Well, I thought we were headed for a lengthy delay due to the injury, and fortunately the injured player, who I lost track of on the wide shot, was helped off the field and walked off, I think under his own power, so that's good to see. And immediately they begin running the clock again, and with that we reach the 2-minute warning. So we have the Steelers with 2 timeouts. We mentioned before they called one to get one of their injured players back on the field offensively, and at the time, I thought, okay, you're handing the ball off each play. It's important to have your starting line out there. Burning that timeout could be something that comes back to bite you if the Butchers score a touchdown. Even if they don't, you have one less timeout to move down the field and attempt a winning kick.
Yeah, true. And remember, with the Butchers missing a field goal earlier in this half, are they comfortable kicking a game-tying field goal from this far away, or even if they're, let's say, 5 or 10 yards up the field here and they get stuck? Or is it win or bust here from inside the 20-yard line? That's something to consider as well.
I think it's win or bust.
Yeah,
I do.
It's a good point, for sure.
They would have to be at the goal line, I think, to try a kick.
Yeah.
But then again, you could just go for it.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I think if they're in the spot the Steelers are in before, where they have a 4th and goal between the 4 and the 7, I think they'd probably kick it. Anything else, I think they'd go. Isom will keep it here. Looking for running room. He powers forward and is within a yard or two of a first down.
Yeah, sure. He's, it's a good first down here. And remember, the clock is moving. I think this is going to be about a 2nd down and 3, if I'm not mistaken. And maybe a little more, 2nd and 4.
He didn't do as well as I thought he did, but if you get very close to the sticks on a first down run and you're only short by a yard, it's almost better you didn't pick it up in some cases, because it really prevents Kuopio from starting to use those timeouts in a goal-to-go situation.
This clock is moving here. We are inside 1:20 left.
Yeah, Porvoo wisely taking their time. They'll hand off to Powell, and I don't think he got it.
I don't think so either.
And honestly, Dave, if you're confident in giving him the ball again, that might be a good thing, because if they pick up a first down on a 3rd and short, the Steelers will have to use their last timeout, and then you're in complete control of the clock and the ball if you're the Butchers.
Yeah, that's true. And I can't get a sense. Yeah, it's about 3rd and 1 here. So
well, you have to get this.
Moving.
You have to get it. Isom will keep it. And did they flag them? If not, that's a touchdown.
I don't know. I heard whistles come up before he crossed the plane.
Did they let him score? What happened?
So.
Oh, boy, I think they got flagged for a false start, Dave.
Well, I have 46 seconds left with the clock stopped. We have a player down, so we're going to have an official timeout. I didn't see the physical flag.
I didn't either, and it looked like the official, yeah, okay, there it is. He was moments away from making that false start signal and then stopped. He just signaled toward the Steelers' bench false start, which of course they would accept. And that's the one thing you couldn't do there, Dave, if you're the Butchers.
Well, what did we say?
They had a free first down.
Yeah. And what did we say before? What a clean first half they played. Now a couple of penalties, a missed field goal, a turnover, and now the mistakes are starting. And we're talking about now what would have been a 1st and goal from the 3 ends up being a 3rd down and 6 coming up as a result of that flag. And now, again, we have 46 seconds left unofficially in this game.
If they end up 4th and 6, is there any chance they kick?
Oh, man.
I say no. I don't think they will. I think they'll go for it.
I would be inclined to agree with you because of just where the ball is. I don't trust a 30-yard field goal here. I really don't. And it's not to take anything away from Minkin.
I'm not sure if I trust any field goal.
Yeah, I mean, I would trust like an extra point type field goal, but again, you're so
they missed
close
one of those
there.
Already. Not an extra point. They missed a field goal from extra point range.
Well, yeah, it was about from. Yeah, it was a little longer than that, but I agree, it was close enough.
Well, right, they kick extra points from the 2 still in the Maple League.
Well, from the 3. But remember, they got that big sack on 3rd down.
They'll throw a screen here on 3rd down, and that's not close.
Not close.
And is the ball out? It did come out.
No, they ruled it down.
But they blew
Joe.
it dead,
Yeah.
and it landed out of bounds anyway. The officials are going to talk about it. He can't fumble it forward. That's not a question.
Right.
This is right in that range where they missed before. It's almost the same exact spot.
Yeah.
I think Isom was sacked at the 11 earlier.
Well,
this ball
yeah.
might be at the 12.
No, I think it was less, Joe, because they had the ball first, 3rd and goal from the 2, and then he got hit from behind. It was just inside the 10. It was at the 8-yard line or something.
So they're a little further.
Yeah, and it was about a 25-yard field goal, and they missed it. This is.
It looks like they're going to kick it, Dave.
Yeah, where's their kicker? I mean, I don't see anybody. I don't see the kicker, Minkinen. I mean, I don't see Isom either, but
no.
There he is. Yeah, okay. So
all right,
Minkinen
here we
just
go.
come in.
This is for the tie. Now, the clock was stopped.
Yep.
This is for the tie. Kick on the way. And it is good.
Wow.
A game-tying field goal for Porvoo by Lassi Minkinen has evened the score at 17. Unofficially, we have about 32 seconds to go.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if the Butchers called a timeout to keep that clock stopped or the ball went out of bounds and that's what stopped the clock. So that's the only thing that remains kind of in question here with only 30 seconds left. But
I think the fumble going out of bounds did stop the clock, but
yeah, I'm inclined to agree.
I don't think you can fumble it forward because that effectively would be a free timeout for the offense if you wanted it.
Yeah,
you throw the ball to the sideline, and obviously you can't do that.
And I could have sworn the side judge said he was down, down by contact before the fumble even happened. But either way, it might be a moot point with the timeout situation. But the Steelers will have 2 timeouts with 30 seconds left in a 17-17 game. So, man, Porvoo had to sweat it out, but they scored 3 points in the half, and it's good enough to just tie right now.
Well, there's a team in the league that could drive down the field in 30 seconds and give their kicker a chance. It's probably Kuopio.
Yeah, and if there's a defense that has been susceptible to giving up a big play, it's been Porvoo's.
And I think this could be good field position for Kuopio, and indeed it is. I don't think they expected the up man to run it back. We don't have a 64 on the roster for Kuopio, but I'm inclined to think that there is no way the Butchers expected the big fella to run it back.
Probably not, and he ran it back about a good 10 yards, too. So he puts them in pretty decent position here with 2 timeouts.
Yeah, you can't. As far as I'm concerned, you can't do that. It's too risky.
Yeah, I agree.
There's only 30 seconds left.
Right. And all you
need
for
them to run it back would take a lot of time if you go deep.
Right. Well, they got 2 timeouts, so they can afford to do something here.
Jarman's going to throw a quick screen to Mack, and you'll take that.
Yeah.
That's a pickup of about 6 or 7 yards. He got out of bounds across midfield.
Yep, and by our count, it only cost them about 4 seconds, that play. So, and it did not cost them the timeout.
That's a gutsy decision by Mack. He needs to make that decision quickly. Do I go inside this block and risk getting tackled in bounds, or do I go outside of it and live to fight another down with the clock stopped? He made the right call. Trips to the left, bunched together. Jarman with a clean pocket, throws over the middle. Incomplete. And I am very curious to see this replay, Dave, and see if that ball hit the turf or the fingertips.
Yeah, I think it hit the turf, but Marshall has to come up with this. I mean, that's
if it hit the turf, I thought it was short, but it seems to me on replay that it was there.
Yeah, I thought Marshall needs to make this play, but the game's over, Joe. We're going to overtime. They lifted the ball. So we were off.
So they must have run the clock on that play where the ball got fumbled.
Yes, I believe you're right.
And now, Dave, the question is, if he caught this, I'm assuming there would have been no time because the time ran out with the ball going up in the... Now, yeah, no more than one additional second passed if that ball did not hit the turf. So let's say it hit his fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one additional second would have come off the clock if it had not been stopped. So you have to assume that if he caught that, we were headed to overtime anyway.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
If the game is over now, then it would have been over had the catch been made. I would think.
I'm inclined to agree. At which point do you even bother throwing it?
Well, yeah.
And I thought the pocket was clean enough where if they wanted to go end zone, there was certainly some time. For those asking, we do not have a feed to the venue game clock. That would have to be kept manually, and it is simply not possible without having a view of the scoreboard. Our only camera feed is this main camera feed that you see from the Steelers sideline.
Yeah, it's a great question, Joe, and it's actually a question that we posed to Finland earlier today regarding the women's championship game. I actually asked our friends at Kepit if we can get a camera on the clock, or if we can have our camera operator pan to the clock every now and then. And unfortunately, they cannot control that from the control room there. So we have made a request for our main camera operator to every now and then just happen to show us the scoreboard, which happens naturally sometimes, but
it's located near the left end zone here in Porvoo.
Right.
I believe Porvoo won the toss. I did not see if they motioned to take the ball or kick. Well, there is no kicking. See, I'm so used to the NFL game, Dave. It's that time of year here in the United States. But college overtime rules here in the Maple League, and I have to say, I find that thoroughly more entertaining.
Yeah, well, you know, you're going to get a winner. So that's what's good about it, too. You know, and this is it. This is for the regular season championship, you know, because if Kuopio wins this thing, obviously nobody can catch them in the win-loss column. If Porvoo wins it, then there's a good chance they're going to win next week against Tampere. Of course, you can never take that for granted. But even if they lose to Tampere, they'll finish tied with somebody, and I think via tiebreakers, they'll either finish, you know, even with three teams, and they'll win that tiebreaker. So either way.
If they tied with Helsinki involved, as that's broken up.
Yeah, because they'd be tied also with Kuopio. So it'll be their record against Kuopio and the Roosters combined, and they'd be 2-1. The Roosters would be 1-1 against those teams. And the first tiebreaker, Porvoo would come out. Because it would be a three-way tie.
That's unfortunate for the Roosters, having just the two games, while the Butchers got three.
Definitely.
And they won the head-to-head.
They did.
Yeah, that seems rather unfair.
But it's your record against them combined.
Yeah, but you should have to have the same number of games.
Yeah.
By my opinion.
Well, it's winning. It's winning percentage.
There's a handoff to Mack. And it's going to be a short gain here on second down. So the Butchers defense throwing Mack to the turf there. And I think he wanted a penalty there, but you can't call that in this situation. At least I don't think so.
No, and as a defense, you're taught you play to the whistle, and you know the whistle blew, and he was already midway being pulled back, so you can't really hold up there. But this is a big play here, 3rd down and 7, Joe. And again, these two teams, they do have a kicking game, but it's not the strongest kicking game in the Maple League. And we said it may come down to a kick, so here we go.
Yeah, and is there any chance you would try a 40-yard kick?
Well, I think they're taking a timeout here because they know the magnitude. Now, I think in overtime, both teams do have 2 timeouts left. So Kuopio's calling one of their 2 that they're allowed on 3rd and 7. So they'll have 1 left. The Butchers will have 2. But, yeah, you know, just going back to the tiebreakers, Joe, it's the winning percentage against all the teams that are tied. So Kuopio would finish 7-3 if they lose this game. Porvoo with a loss next week would finish 7-3, and the Roosters, if they win tomorrow and if they win next week against St. Aoki, they would finish 7-3. So of those three teams, which team has the best record? Well, it would be Porvoo would be 2-1, the Roosters would be 1-1, and Kuopio would be 1-2. And so by virtue of winning percentage, Porvoo would win that tiebreaker. They'd be the number 1. The Steelers would be number 2 because they won the head-to-head over the Roosters, and the Roosters would be number 3.
Man, I hate that rule.
Yeah.
Third down. Flags everywhere. Jarman up the sideline, broken up. Now, was it a free play?
I think so, because they let it go, Joe, and it looked certainly like one of the Butchers was offside and came over.
And all of a sudden, Porvoo is committing costly penalties all over the place.
Absolutely. We're getting another look at it here, but it's going to make a 3rd and 7, a 3rd and 2. Yeah, very clear.
And they took themselves out of a potential game-winning drive situation with the false start. They were lucky to get away with a personal foul a bit earlier. You can see it there on the replay. My replay feed, of course, a bit delayed. Jarman getting instruction from his sideline.
And same rules apply, Joe, right? Like you wonder if you don't get it here, would they go on 4th and 2? If, let's say, this is an incomplete
Dave,
pass.
have we lost the scoreboard? I haven't seen it in a while.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we did. I don't know why.
Jarman in the gun. We'll hand off to Mack. Mack fighting forward with some help from his friends, and he will pick up the first down as he emerges from the center of that pile.
Yeah, that's a good run up the middle and not losing focus there, and is able to turn it into a first down, and the ball spotted just outside the 10 to the 12, so they could still pick up another first down here without scoring.
Well, I think if you're the Steelers, you very quickly moved from a precarious position on 3rd and long to a very favorable position now. The ability to pick up that first down is huge. As they hand off to Mack again, Mack still fighting, is wrestled down, and I thought they may have had him by the hair there.
Well, another good job on first down, however, by the Butchers against the run. Only yields a yard, so it's going to be 2nd down and 9. Actually, they moved it up. Oh, no, they moved it across. So 2nd and 9 here for the Steelers.
Steelers getting the first possession here in overtime. They led 17-14. The Butchers kicking a tying field goal with about 10-15 seconds to go in the 4th. Jarman throwing, end zone broken up. And again, in a big situation, Vaahteraliiga was the intended target, and I think there is a flag down. Indeed, there is.
Yeah, and we'll have to see. It's thrown in the direction, of holding, but because I think Vuha made a really, really nice defensive play here.
And it is a hold on Kuopio. Back them up 10.
We're going to get another look at it here. Maybe if we can pick up the hold or just admire the good defensive play. Yeah, perhaps
we talked about penalties and how the Butchers have committed some bad ones. That is an untimely hold by Kuopio.
Yeah, so now that brings up a 2nd down and 19 because they elected to take the yards over the down loss. So 2nd down and 19 from the 21.
They spread it out, 4 receivers wide. Jarman with time, throwing, end zone, caught! And Marshall reaches across the goal line. Did he get in? He thought so, and the officials will talk about it. I thought he was in, Dave. And they say no, but
half-yard line.
It is a Steelers first down. We'll get a look on replay.
Yeah, we will. Let's see if we can pick it up and
I thought he was in without question.
Well, I stopped it right when the knee went down, Joe. We can take a look at it.
Steelers hoping it will not matter as they push Jarman across the goal line. And the Butchers say no. The Steelers signaling touchdown. The referees talking about it. I thought he was certainly in again, Dave.
Well, I stopped the replay.
The Steelers think they got it. The Butchers are holding a fist up as if it's fourth down, which it certainly is not.
No, that was first down just now.
Yeah. So you said you had a freeze frame of the catch. What did you think?
It's hard to tell. I would say he was a little bit short.
Okay.
You'll probably see it coming up.
Yeah, the officials are still deliberating here. I don't know how you could talk about it this long and not have an answer.
Yeah, I mean,
I think no answer is your
point?
answer. And
Touchdown.
There it is, touchdown. I'm still waiting for the replay of the catch.
Oh no, that passed already.
Okay, yeah, I didn't.
We're getting a
see it
replay
even on
now
delay.
of the touchdown now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm not getting any replays.
Really?
I'm getting the replay graphic with no replays.
Huh. That's
And now I have it.
Okay.
I got the graphic twice leading into the replay.
Interesting. Well,
I noticed too earlier in the game, our transitions were doubling with the replay graphic. Like we transition out of a break, and it was the replay graphic.
oh, that I realized as well.
Okay.
That could have been my error.
All right, so
Human.
after lengthy deliberation, the Steelers are awarded a touchdown. They're lining up for the PAT.
And they had a 5-yard penalty on the PAT.
I think they had 12 in the huddle.
All right. That makes things interesting here.
Pekka has a big leg. Certainly will have the distance. And the clock is stopped again.
Again, 12 in the huddle. Could it be?
I think they're they're announcing the previous penalty.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be quite embarrassing if they did it twice in a row. It was 13 the first time. They got down to 12.
No, they're backing him up again, Joe.
Wow.
2 consecutive 12 men in the huddle penalties.
Are there 12 men on the field right now?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Nobody
7,
left.
8, 9, 10, 11. No, 11.
So they got penalized for 12 men in the huddle twice.
It's a 30-yard extra point, by the way.
Here we go. Good snap. Good hold.
Wow.
And a good kick. And, Dave, that would have been good from 50.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was a bomb. All right, I'm going to go back to the catch and to see if that was a touchdown. Not that it matters now.
It's a moot point, but I'm curious to see it.
And I'll see if I could stop it right at...
Yeah, just keep in mind the Butchers are taking the field quickly.
Okay. Yeah, so we got a quick look at it there.
Yeah, I'm definitely having an issue with the replays on my side.
Well, yeah, again, I just played it, so you're not going to see it.
Yeah, okay, I'm getting it now. Yeah, I think you could say his shin was down short. I think if you go by the knee, he was probably in, but without a super slow-mo look on a big screen, it's tough to tell.
Yeah.
Moot point as they hand off to Powell on the first play of the drive, and that play goes nowhere. And now, if you're the Steelers, you can sell out and not let Powell beat you.
Yeah, and I think that's the first time that Powell has been held either for no gain or a loss in this entire game. So I still like the call, but yeah, absolutely, you're right. I mean, if you're the Steelers, it's like anybody but Powell at this point.
Yep, I think you're in a really tough spot here if you're the Butchers. Isom wants to throw it. And Coffey the second makes the catch, tiptoes the sideline, and scores the touchdown. Now, what do I know, Dave? Tough spot, no problem.
I was going to say, that was easy enough. You can't go to Powell, just run this play, right? I mean, where has this been all game? And that's another back shoulder throw predominantly. And I think that's, if I'm not mistaken, one of Coffey's first catches since the first quarter. when he was featured in a much similar
been targeted,
play.
I do believe. That is his first catch since the early going.
Another huge extra point here for Minkinen.
They need this to tie the score. Good snap, good hold, and the Steelers almost got there. Oh boy, that was close.
Yeah, I'm going to take another look at it as well.
And you can tell that Kuopio realizes just how close they came. I think it was Michaela who almost got there, and you could see it. He knows just how close he had come. Though, you know what? Maybe it wasn't him, because I tried to find him coming off the field, and I was following the football rather than the line of scrimmage. I'm getting the replay now.
Yeah, and remember, I think Porvoo gets the ball first now because they switch. You know, Kuopio had it first. Kuopio had the ball first the first time, so now Porvoo will get the ball first in round 2.
Oh, I think coming off a touchdown, this is a big advantage for Porvoo.
Yeah.
Huge advantage.
Got the full momentum now.
Yeah, it looked like the Steelers went man across the board and tried to bring pressure there, and Isom had no problem. He delivered a strike.
And I think the difference here in round 2, Joe, is that they have to go for 2 if they score.
Okay. Yeah, I was about to ask that before the first overtime, but I remembered back to one of our earlier games, the Crocodile Butcher game, and I think I recall they did not need to. But was that game a 3-0 overtime?
Yes.
Just one possession each? It was.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I think we talked about it during that game.
Yeah.
After realizing eventually that we were in overtime.
Right.
So an incomplete pass down the field on first down. The Steelers not allowing Porvoo to beat them over the top again. Foul here, even with the Steelers trying to take him out of the game. And another throw here will sail incomplete. Is there a flag there? There is. It was tough to find, but through the Steelers bench, there was a flag thrown.
And Porvoo's already walking down, assuming this is on Kuopio.
The officials are going to talk it over right as I get another look at it. That's a tough call, Dave. There was hand fighting at the line of scrimmage. Then we lose the receiver and defensive back out of the frame.
Yeah.
And by the time the ball is thrown, I think it was Michaela on the coverage. It was tough to see. But he had his back to the receiver, almost boxing him out from a catch on the inside. And the ball was nowhere close. I think it was Pekarainen on the coverage.
Yeah, by the time we caught the replay, we couldn't see what was happening.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. You saw the hand fighting at the line, though.
Right.
They'll fake the handoff again. Throw to the end zone off the fingertips of Coffey the second.
Well, falling in love with Coffey a little bit now on this one. They recognize that gorgeous, pass and catch on the last drive, and they've gone to him the next 2 consecutive times there. Almost came down with that one with the one hand, but instead, 2nd and 10 here.
Trips to the right. Isom in the gun. They have not run it since the first play of their last drive, and they will not run it here. Isom throwing complete. Touchdown Butchers. It's Sepinen over the middle, and Porvoo has the 6-point lead here in round 2 of overtime. They must go for 2.
Not bad for a guy who was on the injured list coming into this game. He sure has impressed. He hasn't had a lot of targets, has Sepinen, but that was another great pass and catch that time. Sepinen in stride on the slant route, going right across the goal line, making it look a little easy that time. And again, they do have to go for 2, and Porvoo, I believe, will call for time here to discuss this very important 2-point conversion.
And I have to say, Dave, I do agree with what the Steelers did on the first Butchers possession of overtime. They stacked the box, and they sent the message. We are not allowing Christian Powell to beat us. Then they got hit for a touchdown pass on the very next play. It doesn't seem like they've adjusted here on drive number 2 in overtime, and I think part of that might have to do with the fact that the Butchers got to come run right back out on the field. I think that was a huge advantage for them. But you look at that touchdown play, once again, Kuopio massively stacking the box. The linebackers right up on the line of scrimmage, drop back into coverage. They were a complete non-factor where they were on the field.
Yeah, it's a good point. Got to see it on the replay as well.
Pre-snap motion, Manny Rolla. Isome, fakes, looking. Rolling left, throwing, incomplete. And a flag comes out. Man, I didn't see much.
We will take a look at it again while they review this.
Yeah, unless there was a grab prior to the throw, I did not see anything with the ball in flight.
Well, our fans at home are watching the replay now, Joe, while we get you the official call. But yeah, I mean, doesn't look like much.
Well, they've picked up 2 already in this game. And they will not pick up this one.
Huge, so it's half the distance, so from the 1.5 yard line now. And again, do you think that puts in play the option for Isome to take this himself, for Powell to take it on the rush and take the pass off the table?
We'll see. Isome carry, and he won't get it.
Wow, good stop.
Wow, I have to admit, Dave, I got caught looking at the replay monitor again. I got one final look at it right before the ball was snapped, and I almost feel like the throw led the receiver into interference, and I don't think it should have been called personally.
Yeah, neither did I. But the ball doesn't lie, right? That's what they say.
I guess not,
so,
if you don't think that was the right call. But if you're a fan of Porvoo, I don't think you can be too upset with that play call, and maybe you see something like that and you're thinking, or maybe exclaiming at your commentary team, that's why they didn't run it earlier on the goal line. That wasn't Powell,
right?
But that's a good defensive play by Kuopio to make that stand. That's tough to stop even when you know it's coming. Jarman fakes the handoff and throws deep down the field. Incomplete. And again, it's Vaahteraliiga, the intended target. All of a sudden, he's become a top target.
Absolutely, you know.
Out of nowhere.
Jarman has developed some pretty good rapport with him and has trusted him here, especially with these 50-50 type throws. Now, it looks like a throw like this, Vaahteraliiga really is the only person who's going to have a shot at this. It's a hot shot. It would have been a really, really tough play to make. But
does he have a catch yet?
Yes, he does. He had one earlier, at least, I remember.
I thought they targeted him twice, and they both went incomplete, and that was the third. As the handoff to Mack, he finds a hole, and Mack has enough for a first down.
Yeah, nice run that time for Mack, and on 2nd and 10, that's a gutsy call right there, because if you get held up at the line of scrimmage, you're looking at a 3rd and long on a drive where you must score a touchdown here for a chance to even extend the game, let alone try and win it.
Steelers break huddle with a 1st and 10 from the 15-yard line. Touchdown followed by a 2-point conversion would win it. It's a toss. Mack. He makes a man miss in the backfield and cannot skip over the tackle of Littlejohn.
Yeah, it's a nice open field tackle because if Littlejohn doesn't make it, he's got a beat there to the 5-yard line. Instead, held up for only a gain of 2 on the play. Maybe less.
Yeah, they gave him
only a half
maybe a yard. Maybe. Steelers back in the gun. 2 receivers to the left of the formation. We've seen a lot of screens out of this set. Looking left, Jarman throwing, end zone, incomplete. And we haven't seen Urho-Pekka Paki targeted since the early going. And now the Butchers, with a flag thrown, are motioning the ball was uncatchable. But I don't know if they're going to get the call. And it's holding on Porvoo. Getting a look at it now. Oh, yeah, it's the right call. There's a jersey grab very clearly on the way to the end zone for Paki.
Yeah, we just caught it again, too, on the replay.
Yeah, so that's definitely a hold.
Well, what's more important, too, is that on 2nd and 9, it becomes a automatic first down on the hold. And I believe with where they'll spot it, it'll be a 1st and goal.
4 plays for Kuopio to tie, and if they can, 1 more to win it here in round 2 of overtime. Back in the gun, 2 receivers to the left. Mack motion to the right of Jarman. Jarman keeps it on the option, finds a small crease and goes down. And I think they'll mark him between the 4 and 5 yard line.
Yeah, so not bad, however, because it gets it now inside the 5, actually just outside the 5 is where they'll spot it. Yeah, they moved it back just a tad.
And a tad more.
So 3 downs to get 5 yards here for the Steelers. You like your chances here on this with a lot of options here on the field.
Well, they're going to a look we haven't seen all game. It is a pistol-strong set. 2 backs in the backfield. They'll hand off up the middle, and that won't go anywhere.
Yeah,
Letting driven backwards.
A rare carry for him. Remember, his first carry of the game got wiped away via a penalty on a pretty long run. And, yeah, he only got about a half yard, so it was just outside the 5. Now it's just inside the 5 on 3rd down and goal.
Well, they get at most a yard between those last 2 plays. Marshall has been huge in the red zone. Kawika we saw plenty of last year in these red zone spots. Mack, a big touchdown scorer. They'll fake the handoff and throw incomplete. Marshall, the intended target over the middle. Little John draped all over him, and it's 4th down, Kuopio.
Rassi Littlejohn has an interception in this game, but has also played very well here from the defensive back position. On 4th down and goal, I think the Steelers are going to want to have to talk this over while we watch the replay of what happened on 3rd. Yeah, it looks like good coverage.
That is very good coverage. Man, he got there. Either right with the ball or a bit early. But I don't think you can throw that flag. I really don't.
No, and that'll be 4th down and goal. And
slow it down for me, Dave, or you
Sure.
get it ready? Okay.
No, well, I'll do it one more time.
Yeah,
Very
I'm
slow
looking
down.
at the initial replay. You know what, Dave? I think he's there early. I do.
Well, you're about to see it in super slow coming up. One final time. Yeah, I do.
Is it enough to flag it,
Yeah,
though?
I don't know.
He's playing the ball, but I do think it affects Marshall's ability to catch it.
Yeah. I just think from the defensive point of view, I don't know how else you can defend that without.
You can.
Yeah, without.
You can, but you
committing
gave up
interference.
inside leverage.
Yeah.
So that's really your fault as a defender if you're in that spot. And part of it was a result of the motion. It's a well-designed play. I think ultimately it's probably a good no flag. I don't know if there was enough.
Here we go.
Could be the final play here. 4th and goal, Steelers. 3 receivers to the left. Jarman looking right. Throwing incomplete. No flags. And the Porvoo Butchers secure the top seed in the Maple League as they win in overtime, 30-24.
Wow, Joe, how these games swing back and forth. You know, we've been seeing it all season long. And Porvoo, who seemed like they were on the ropes late in the 4th quarter again in a game against the Steelers this season, they come back this time with enough juice to tie the game and send it to overtime. Consecutive touchdowns when they get there in overtime to win 2 out of 2 times against Kuopio this season and win a regular season championship to boot. Amazing how they do it, and proof that they just have what it takes time and again, and a championship team repeats as regular season champs with a gritty overtime win in this one.
And I think we saw from the Butchers in overtime what this offense is capable of when they look to throw it paired with the threat of the run. It just seemed to me like at some point in this game they got away from the run, and after getting back to it on that last drive that led to the field goal, the Steelers were locked in on the ground game in overtime, and it just seems like they never adjusted. They had one-on-one opportunities down the field on multiple occasions during overtime, did the Butchers. They capitalize on one for the first score. They ultimately do get in for a second score right on the back of that first one. And I think the overtime format really worked to their advantage as well. You score on the passing touchdown on your first overtime possession if you're Porvoo. You get it right back and score again. I think Porvoo definitely legitimized their upward trajectory with this win. You can talk plenty about the weather and the opponents coming into this game with a 3-game winning streak. I think this victory puts any talk of what they did those last 3 weeks not mattering all that much to bed.
Yeah, I agree, Joe. And I think what's kind of cool about what's happening and obviously the way things finish is that with Porvoo finishing in first and Kuopio finishing in second, there's no chance that these two teams will face each other in the semifinals. So if there's going to be a third meeting between these two teams, it's going to happen in a championship. And I'll tell you what, it would be a good one if they do end up there, because these have been two really, really good games. And the Butchers come out on top in both. But, Joe, in both games, Kuopio with a lead inside of 2 minutes to go in the game, and Kuopio comes up 0-2 in a season in which they've gone 7-1 otherwise. You really can't script that too many times in any other way. And I'll tell you what, it's going to make for a really, really good playoff, in a couple of weeks for us.
And I have no doubt about that. But something else of note now, that Week 12 matchup that we have between the Crocodiles and the Roosters, that game is effectively meaningless unless those two teams meet again, because they're locked in at the bottom of the standings. They can flip-flop, but that's about it.
Sure. Well, it will matter with who they play. And I'll tell you this, Seinäjoki, for 2 years in a row, have gone into Kuopio in the playoffs and won both times. So if you're Kuopio, who would you rather see? Would you rather see the Roosters, or would you rather see Seinäjoki come out as the 3?
There's no question. Right now,
I'd rather see Seinäjoki.
Today, you'd rather see Seinäjoki, only because they're on a downward trajectory right now.
Yeah.
The Butchers were trending up coming in. The Steelers were trending up. The Roosters, arguably the hottest team in the league now with the Steelers loss, trending up. Seinäjoki is the only team trending in the wrong direction right now.
Well, yeah, that's true, Joe. But what if they win? What if they beat the Roosters? And what if they beat them emphatically next week? Then all of a sudden you're like, well, did we want to see Seinäjoki?
It depends how they win, Dave, because who knows who's going to play in that game now, because I don't think if I'm coaching, I'm not taking any chances in those games. I might play my starters for a half, maybe even for a drive. I don't know if I'm taking any chances, because odds are I'm not getting a home playoff game. You want to win. You want to go into the playoffs with momentum, but I think if any of those two teams needs to play their starters, it's the Crocodiles, because that last game out for them was very poor. They have the Royals and a chance to get right this week, but if they do anything less than win decisively this week, they need to figure it out next week, because there's no time after that.
Well, exactly. And the other thing, and to your point that they might want to rest their starters, Joe, is that both Seinäjoki and Helsinki have beaten Porvoo in Porvoo. So you'd almost think that they'd rather be the 4 seed and play Porvoo again on the road, because they've won there. Well, but again,
I want to win if I'm either of those teams, but at what cost?
No, I understand that. I mean, obviously you're going to go in there, you're going to look to win the game. But I'm just saying that both of those teams, Seinäjoki lost twice to Kuopio. The last time it wasn't even close. Helsinki has lost once to Kuopio. Those two teams are 0-3 against Kuopio. Those two teams are 2-1 against Porvoo this season. So, it does lead you to say, well, if we win, great, we're going to Kuopio. If we lose, we're going to Porvoo, and we've won there already this season. So, it's not the worst thing either. But either way, next week's game is intriguing for us, because it's, it puts that dynamic in place. And let's just say it's Seinäjoki Kuopio and Helsinki Porvoo. It'll be the 3rd straight year that those 4 teams are meeting in that semifinal round, so a lot of history there as well. And, Will that play in? Who knows? I mean, the roster's changed so much, but, it might factor in. You just don't know.
And it should be a lot of fun to watch all of it play out. We have one more week of regular season football in the Maple League. Our Week 12 game of the week will feature the Roosters and the Crocodiles. After that, it's playoff time. One final question, Dave. Do we get multiple playoff games?
We do. We're going to get both of them. Yep.
Well, my video has just gone
Yeah,
black
me too.
screen, so with that, we will sign off. Our final score, the Butchers 30 and the Steelers 24. Game of the week next week, Crocodiles and Roosters. Be sure to catch that right back here on the PDF Sports Network. Until then, everyone, thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of your Friday night.